We're live.
Sweet.
Scotty Ball.
What's
Scott
up?
Knudson.
Tis I.
I still call you Scotty.
That works, man. I've been called Scotty since I, was a wee little lad. So usually only by the deal with that though is like if you're gonna call me Scotty, there's an understanding. Like yeah. There's an understanding. Exactly.
So for real quick, for people who don't know, just tell people who you are and what you do, how we know each other, so on and so forth.
Right on. Well,
my
name is Scott Knudson. I also go by the alias Scotty Ball, primarily on social media. I am the lead singer for the Minnesota rock band Strange Daze, have been for 21 years now. We've had a record deal and been signed since like 2013 or somewhere in there.
Explain to people why you're putting it in quotes and why I'm laughing about it. Seriously, because a lot of people don't understand this.
Well, I'm putting it in the air quotations because what someone else's attachment to the meaning of those words is might not necessarily be entirely true or the same as mine is.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily want to, tell anybody how to think or anything like that. But
here, I'm gonna do something. Keep talking.
Yeah. But
I just want to be able to see your face while you're talking.
Yeah, no problem.
There, now I can see it nice and clear.
No problem.
You're so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
You're so pretty. Anyways,
but so like around 2013, that was when we were able to, have our music reach more radio stations and, things like iTunes and Spotify, all that, and somebody's got a little sticker on your album with their, company name or whatever. And maybe they help you with the, printing or distribution or stuff like that or whatever. But those are the real world extents of all of that. But so that's my main gig, other than first and foremost being a husband and father of two kids, a 17-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl. And then I also do odd jobs during the weekdays here and there,
just to fill the gaps
for my community school
especially
district,
during fucking COVID and all that kind of shit.
Exactly.
People are really fucking having to get creative, especially if you're a musician or maybe a sound guy or something like that.
Yeah. And then the whole Scotty Ball thing came about, probably around 6 years ago or so, when a friend of / coworker of mine who I knew through the band informed me that he was working with an internet radio station and they had just lost their sports guy or fired their sports guy or whatever, and it was always a passion of mine. And I said, well, I could probably, help you out if you wanted to. No, not really. Just felt like it was something I was knowledgeable on and could do and possessed at least all the basic core skills, that I could translate with just, some practice and whatever. And so then I worked for that internet radio station for a couple years doing a weekly Sports Center type of, 2-hour-ish sports radio show type of thing that was also then, podcastable afterwards.
Sure.
And whatnot. And then through that got me employed with a Vikings website where I was lead interviewer. And every week I would get contact info on someone Vikings related, usually a former player, but sometimes a current player or a current coach. Every once in a while, another Minnesota sports media person, like a Leah B. Olson, for example.
Right.
But so then I did that for about 3 years or so, which was just amazing. I got to interview Bud Grant. And that was early on in our friendship when we had met each other via social media.
And that's kind of
I was able to incorporate one of your questions into that interview.
That was fucking cool. That was really cool.
And it was one of like the most roller coaster, 15, 20 minutes for me that I can remember, because the deal was I called the big great white elephant, that I got the contact info from my boss back in like April. for him. And it was like, I can get you his number at the Vikings complex. He's in at least like once or twice a year. So like that's what I can get you. If it ever happens, great. Like I expect nothing of this, but here you go.
Sure.
And so I contacted like in April, left him a voicemail at the Vikings complex in his office on his extension. And then one magical day, like around like July 7th or 8th, I just remember it was the following week from the 4th of July. I was out mowing my lawn and I was like, can't remember if I had just finished and then I think I just finished and then was going to spin trim. And I checked my phone just because, I hadn't checked my phone the whole hour I was mowing or whatever. It's, 3 in the afternoon, 3:30 in the afternoon on a random weekday. Why should I?
Right.
And I got a missed call from a number I don't recognize, but there's a voicemail with it. I'm like, okay, I'll check this out. And so I dial it up and my voicemail goes, yeah, hey, this is Bud Grant, just returning your call from a while back. I'm going to be in the office for a little while here yet. If you still want to make that happen or whatever. And I'm just like, and that was it. And that was the message. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like it happened. It happened and I missed it, like, cause I look at the time and it's a good, 45 minutes ago. And I'm just like, oh crap, man. Like I was probably the last thing on his, favor list or whatever before he headed out of the office. So I freak out. I call back and talk to the lady, get through, sent to the extension or whatever. Phone rings, and it was like the longest 2-3 rings of my life. And I'm not expecting him to answer.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
him to be gone or something.
Yep, exactly. And then all of a sudden I hear, hey, this is Bud. And I'm just like, oh my God, hey, this is Scotty Ball. You just returned my call within the last hour or so, and I missed it, so I'm just trying to hit you up. And,
that's pretty fucking rad, man. For people that don't know who he's talking about, Bud Grant is a legendary Hall of Fame Minnesota Vikings head coach that led us to 3 Super Bowls. Fortunately, we lost all 4, but still a legend here locally.
As
still
well as an NBA basketball champion as a player with the Minneapolis Lakers.
Correct.
And George Mikan. As well as a Canadian Football League champion as well.
As a coach.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was a weird thing. How many fucking championships did he win with Mike? And it's like, is it? Man,
2 I think 2.
Okay.
I think 2.
I'm glad you said that because I was about to say like 8.
No. I think 2. I'm pretty sure not more than 3.
Okay. And then somehow this fucking guy.
Don't for sure quote me on that, but
somehow ends up a Canadian football coach.
Yep.
Wins the Grey Cup.
Yep.
Which is their version of the Super Bowl for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about here. And then all of a sudden he comes to the fucking NFL. And within a couple, a handful of years, 2, 3, 4 years, brought us to our first Super Bowl. Like it wasn't that long after because Norm Van Brocklin was the first head coach of the Vikings, and I think he lasted 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah, it wasn't very many. It was Cap-esque almost too, where like Cap wasn't really the quarterback for super long, but it was he was the quarterback.
You're talking about Joe Cap?
Yeah. Yep. But it was when he was at a significant time. Same with like Norm.
Yeah. So you finally get this legend on the phone. You're doing this fucking interview, but before you had actually started this interview, you for some who knows why reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna interview Bud Grant. Do you want him to ask him a question?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah!"
Well, I ended up having about probably 20 hours or so in between when we talked on the phone returning his call and when we recorded the actual for the website interview.
So you had a little bit of prep
so
and
I just when I called him back, then we scheduled it for the following day at like 11 a.m. I got up to 30 minutes or whatever, can do it. It's like, okay, cool. So that's pretty much exactly what we did. I think it ended up being around 25 to 28 minutes long, somewhere in there. And a lot of the interviews I did for the site were around the 15-minute mark, just because that's how it worked out most of the time. But yeah, so I had like about a 20-hour cushion in between there, and I knew that he was huge on your favorite, influential, just, on your fanboy list of sports figures that he was really, really high
and it's
on
not,
that list.
Ironically, it's not because he brought us to 4 Super Bowls, because we lost those, right? So really that doesn't mean shit, to me at least. The way I look at football is what it was is his ability to just literally be tougher than everyone else. So back then, if you know anything about Vikings lore, the Minnesota Vikings were played outside in an outdoor stadium in the middle of the winter, obviously, like most outdoor football is, except for the beginning of the season. And the Vikings players, including the coaches, were not allowed to wear real jackets, like real winter jackets.
Okay.
And it was an intimidation factor. Let those motherfuckers be freezing their asses off. We're not wearing coats. And it mattered. Like, people mock this kind of shit so much. It's like, no, man, this shit really has a factor. Because when it's 5 below and you're freezing your ass off in a large coat, sitting on the bench shivering, wanting to go home, whether you're winning or losing, you just can't get through this game fast enough, and you look up and you see the entire team standing up with no fucking coats on, you're like, dude, these guys are fucking insane. That kind of shit actually starts going through your fucking head.
No, absolutely.
And it really mattered.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a visual representation of what your focus is on. Side the cold, the people with the jackets, their focus is on how cold they are.
Right.
The people not wearing the jackets, just standing there in their football gears with their numbers and shoulder pads visible and stuff, they're focused on
maybe
football.
they were allowed maybe they were allowed coats, but they weren't allowed heaters. Or both. Maybe they weren't allowed heaters or coats.
Both. It's funny you bring up his toughness, though, because I do remember with the timing of it, because I don't remember exactly when it was. I got it somewhere in a file on a computer somewhere. But I remember, I believe it was following, so it would have been like the July following the Seattle playoff game where he was out there, in the 4 below 0, 6 below 0 or whatever temp
at halftime
with just the short sleeve shirt on,
and then he took that shirt off, and then he took the fucking shirt off, like literally Old Man Grant fucking went out there, everyone else again freezing their fucking ass off because the Vikings were temporarily playing outside in TCF Bank Stadium.
Exactly.
He fucking, and actually I think he did this. I think the actual incident I'm referring to, I seen him do this exact same thing when they played at, I got to adjust this real quick. Yeah, that's better. We pound on the table, and over time, the cameras drop.
Sure.
It starts picking up the ceiling and shit up there.
Sure.
Just looks like shit. Anyways, so I think it was... the Brett Favre was playing with the Vikings. We're at TCF Bank Stadium. We weren't having a good season because obviously it was the year the dome collapsed, or the year after, whatever it was. No, it was definitely the year the dome collapsed, and it was snowing, and I was at that game, so it had to be the Bears game. It had to be the Bears game. And I
think I was at that game too.
Yeah, and it was snowing, and that motherfucker comes out in a short sleeve T-shirt, and then takes the shirt off, like literally, and starts running around the fucking stadium, or the field, I should say, waving that shit around his fucking head, like rawing up the crowd, like, come on, let's go. And I was like, man, this guy is he's still the toughest dude on the field.
Yep.
And then he did it again a few weeks later at the Seattle playoff game, where it wasn't snowing, but it was even colder. And he did it again. And yeah, it was just like, this is he's my fucking hero. Like, you don't get any tougher than that. Wins or losses in the Super Bowl, I get it, but he just embodies like the badass, tough northern dude. You know what I mean?
The American dream side of it, like to just work your ass off, get as good as you can possibly be at what you want to be good at, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
he's a
accept
man.
whatever. Because, like, you know, I'd talk to him about the Super Bowl losses and just the legacy and stuff, and you know, it really means nothing to him. I genuinely believe that stuff means nothing to him.
Right.
You know, talking to him about the being out in the cold in the, you know, short sleeve shirts and stuff. Again, it was he'd bring up the psychological advantage, and then other that it was nothing. You know, next question, like those would be the things. The competitive stuff was actually the stuff that he would give the least answers on. You know, but then when I would talk to him about his time in the service, or, you know, just what his life is like being at his lake cabin with the grandkids and stuff, right, or you know, his CFL days, what he thinks about players he coached, like just getting him to talk about Alan Page as a person. You know, I mean, like all those things were the things that he was like just a fantastic conversation on.
Right.
But when you try to pick his brain about like just his football experience, you could tell that just that conversation stuff didn't do a whole lot for him.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, and when you let me ask that question, you did a great job. You read my fucking question word for word, and it was a complex question. It wasn't, you know, basically,
it wasn't just what's your favorite color, you know?
Right? Or even like who's the best coach in the NFL, like
right.
who's your favorite player. It wasn't anything dumb like that. It was a complex question. You literally did a great job of reading it absolutely perfectly, and all I can remember, I remember the context of the question, which was like something to the degree of, in the NFL nowadays, in most pro sports, we have this insanely high rate of turnaround. Like, you get a coaching job, and if you don't immediately fucking make a deep run in the playoffs, you're basically done. You're fucking out.
Yeah, you've got a 1 to 3 year window.
Yep, and then they bring in a new GM and a new coach and a new system and, you know, a new scheme from top to bottom, offense, defense, everywhere in between. Everything's new again, and then you've got, well, we got to get rid of those guys because those aren't our players. They don't fit our system. They don't fit our new culture. And so you got all this turnover. Just look at the Browns. Look at the Bengals back in the day. Fuck the Lions. It's like they become these perpetually diseased organizations because of the turnover.
The loser culture.
And then you start looking at even just simply take the fucking Bengals. Right? They were the worst team in the NFL. They were the laughing stock. Finally, they just let Marvin Lewis keep his fucking job. He goes, at best, it's like 8-8, like 3 or 4 seasons in a row. And then one season, I think they went 9-7, and boom, they're in the playoffs. And they've been in the playoffs every fucking year. That was a huge step up for them. You see what I'm getting at here?
Yes. No, totally.
That's why Cleveland can't seem to fucking do anything no matter how good the players are, is because every year they fire their coach, right? Every 3 years they get a new GM. Every 3 to 5 years they're completely turning over their roster from top to bottom. You and I, to put this in context, you and I have debated about the success rate of Minnesota Vikings GM and head coach Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, and
who just got new extensions,
and which I'm for it, and it ties directly into this conversation. Stability. Okay, there's number one, there's not an obvious GM out there that's going to be better than Rick right now. Number two, there's not an obvious head coaching replacement that is going to be better than us right now. Look at what we went through after losing the stability of Denny Green. Say what you will about him, 2 NFC championship games, right? Okay, you follow me so far?
Yep.
Then all of a sudden we go into Childress, then it's Frazier, it was fucking Tice. It was Tice, Childress, Frazier, and then directly to Zimmer. And we've seen the ups and downs of bringing in new people with new regimes and new ideas. And where I'm going with this, to bring it back to the Browns example, is if you look at the Minnesota Vikings roster and who we drafted 3 to 5 years ago, we actually still have several of those players. You can't keep them all. The Browns, I don't think have any.
Right.
They used to have Joe Thomas, but every 3 to 5 years, 100% of their roster has been turned
purged.
over.
Yeah.
And then you look at Zimmer and Spielman, and it goes, okay, you whiffed on a bunch of first-round draft picks. However, look what they've done with those late-round draft picks and the undrafted guys, the Anthony Harrises. You see what I'm saying?
Like, completely.
These guys know what they're doing, and I truly believe if you just let them do their job and keep building this culture from the ground up, give them enough time, they're going to win us a Super Bowl eventually.
See, and that's where I don't know if I can go that far on my own personal feelings. To me, they, both individually and together, Zimmer and Spielman, possess what it takes to have a consistent, good team.
Sure.
But if that is going to result in them being champions, world champions, I don't see it. I don't see it getting
here's how I wrap my head around this. Belichick was in Cleveland for a minimum of 3 years. I believe it was 4 or 5. And he was like, at best, 8-8 most of those seasons. I think the last season he was there, they went 10-6. They went to the playoffs, lost in the first round. He didn't immediately turn around that.
Yep.
Zimmer's only been here technically. I think he got the job in 2013 or 2014. Something like that. Somewhere in there. That's only 5 or 6 years. When Belichick took over the Patriots, you got to understand, Kraft and Parcells and Belichick had been building that culture because they had already been there once. So if you go look back at the Super Bowl in 1995, it was the Green Bay Packers versus the New England Patriots. Guess who was the head coach? Bill Parcells. Guess who was the defensive coordinator for that game? Assistant head coach. Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Guess who was the rookie defensive end that year? I believe his name is Willie McGinnis.
Sure. Yep.
I may be saying the wrong guy, but it's definitely one of the. It's that same. I'm pretty sure it's Willie McGinnis, because I remember him sacking Favre in that game. Actually, I think I remember him sacking Favre. I might be making that up.
I think you're right.
But they already had been building a championship culture for years. And then Belichick left for a while and came back, and that culture didn't change, that system. So Anwar and I talk about this. Like, what's the difference between when we're talking straight up football nerdery, what is the difference between a system and a scheme? Like, and I'm not trying to set you up. I'm not trying to set you up. But, like, do you know the difference between a system and a scheme?
In my own words, I mean, I will give you the difference to my current understanding in my own words.
Yeah, go ahead.
A system is, you have your way and this is how you run it. It's like an assembly line for machines or anything like that. Like, here's the pieces we have, here's where they go, when they go there, how they fit, everything. This is our thing. And we impose our will, do our thing, okay? A scheme is simply what strategy you're using at any given point in time to beat that specific opponent.
That's pretty close to how Anwar and I define it. It's a little bit more elaborate and specific. So basically a scheme is the literal X's and O's. So like, you're in a West Coast offense, a run and gun, a 4-3, a 3-4, a fucking 3-4 hybrid, a 4-6 defense, a cover 2. Those are schemes, right? Mm-hmm. A system is how you scout players, how you identify those players, how you draft and develop those players, how you structure contracts. Many people use it as a culture, but that's the wrong word. Your culture is like the mentality of the people in the building. Mm-hmm. Like, do you have a winning culture? Do you have a losing culture? Do you have a toxic culture like fucking the Minnesota Timberwolves? like what I think might be the Minnesota Wild. Like they're diseased organizations, so even when they flirt and they get to the playoffs and shit like that, they just get smashed.
Yep.
It seems like the Twins have a really healthy culture over there.
Yes, it
and
does.
they're really building something special.
Yep.
I see the same thing in the Vikings. Like I get it, man. Kirk Cousins isn't fucking Tom Brady, nor should he be. But you know what he can be? Better than Trent Dilfer.
Oh yeah.
As good, if not better, than Brad Johnson.
Oh yeah.
There's dozens of quarterbacks in Super Bowl history that weren't great, but the rest of the team was solid enough to, you know, see what I'm saying?
For me, the QB comparison that I would associate my thoughts on what Kirk Cousins' ceiling is Troy Aikman.
That seems pretty legit. I mean, he's got a way better arm than Troy.
Look what Troy had to accomplish the ultimate accomplishment.
That's
he had a Michael
comparison,
Irvin and an Alvin Harper and a Jay Novacek and a Moose Johnson and an Emmitt Smith and arguably the greatest offensive line in NFL history and a great head coach at the time and tons of studs on defense with Haley and Dion and, you know, all kinds of the whole cast that they had there on those great Cowboys teams of the 90s. But if you give Aikman,
which was
the same
courtesy
pieces
of us, by the way,
if you give Aikman, yes, it was, you're welcome, the same pieces that Marino had throughout his career, for example, or that Elway had throughout his career, for example, he never wins a Super Bowl. Right. As the starting quarterback. So he can be the starting quarterback on a Super Bowl winning team, on a multiple Super Bowl winning team. Absolutely. Right. But he's not going to carry you to that destination and that outcome based on his shoulders.
I mean, here's the other thing.
Part of it. He's a great cog. Okay, he's a great cog, but he needs.
But think
all the
about
other
this
cogs
too, because we started this conversation with stability, right?
Yep.
He's never been in a stable situation, not in Washington, and not even since he's been here. Mm-hmm. He's gone through 3 offensive coordinators already.
Yep.
He's on his 3rd.
Right.
He's entering his 3rd season with us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
That's not good.
Yep.
There is very few quarterbacks in this world that can do that and still be dominant. Like none of them. Like, in fact, go look at Tom Brady when Josh McDaniels wasn't his offensive coordinator. And then you can come back and tell me that, Tom Brady. No, Tom Brady didn't do it. In fact, think about this. This is going to fuck you up. This is going to fuck you up, dude. This is going to fuck you up. Any hardcore football fans, you probably already know this, but you haven't thought about it in a while. Greatest quarterback head coach tandem of all time. They won 6 Super Bowls together.
Well, wouldn't that be Brady and Belichick?
Correct. There was a period in the prime of their careers where they went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl.
Yes, I was going to mention that
in the prime.
They're in 2 blocks of 3.
Yeah.
There's 3 at the beginning of Brady's career, and then there's this big 10-year gap of no Super Bowl wins, and then there's another cluster of 3 championships. Absolutely.
Yep, you're
correct.
Now the culture
when
never
it comes
changed.
to the wins,
correct.
They do still have some losing appearances.
Right. They never had a losing season. They still won the division every year during that time. I think
they're on 17, 18 consecutive seasons of winning the division, something like that.
Exactly. And this might be the first year that they don't. But regardless of that fact, shit, I think I forgot what the fuck I was trying to say. I think I forgot my point. So we're talking about Tom Brady, obviously.
Yep. It was
Josh
going to
McDaniels.
blow my mind.
Oh, no, that's what it is. They went 10 years in their prime.
Mm-hmm.
The 10 years of Brady's prime, he didn't win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Now, granted, yes, they never lost a season. They never had a losing season. They never missed the playoffs.
Well,
they won the division every year. But that's not really what I'm getting at here.
And defining his prime as the stereotypical period of years in a person's life.
Specifically
age
in
25
the NFL,
to 35.
Specifically in the NFL, right, at that position.
Right.
And
relative
statistically,
general prime.
And statistically, he was in his prime, numbers-wise.
Sure, yep.
Again, the culture didn't change. The system didn't change. but the scheme changed.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So even the great, infallible Tom Brady and Bill Belichick couldn't win Super Bowls in his prime unless everything was there. The pieces had to be in place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you think about all of those things, if we can get stability on the offensive side of the ball, the way we've gotten it on the defensive side of the ball, I think we can win a Super Bowl with the roster we have, or the foreseeable roster we have. Just like, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but every time we have a good fucking season, we lose a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to talk to me about fucking proof that these guys are doing well and they deserve to keep their jobs, it's because also when guys leave our team, because we're not re-signing every single draft pick, they're not washing out of the NFL. Those guys are all still playing. And a lot of them are like contributors on other football teams, right? Almost none of them are actually better since they've left the Vikings.
Right. Yep.
Untrue with Dennis Green and the Vikings of the past. We'd have this shit-ass player, we'd cut him, and then he'd blow up and go to Pro Bowls.
Yep.
Now, when you can say we're scouting NFL players and putting good career-long players in the NFL as an organization, you know you're doing something right on that side. And look at none of our coaches that we've lost on offense, other than DiFilippo. The rest of them have gone on to get head coaching jobs. Shermer, head coaching job. Stefanski, head coaching job. So, again, we're identifying and developing talent at every level of this organization. And these guys are sticking around in the NFL now.
Yep.
We're doing everything right. We just have to keep plugging away one season after another and build that shit from the ground up, because unfortunately we don't have a franchise quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers where you can catch him in that rookie contract like a Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have a hard time keeping that consistency now.
Seahawks did that with Wilson.
Exactly. That's what you're seeing in the NFL is if you get a really great quarterback with a lot of potential, with the new structuring of the contracts, you can pile a bunch of money into the rest of the team for about 3 years, and you might win a Super Bowl. Yep. You sign them to one of those top-tier quarterback fucking contracts. All of a sudden you notice, yeah, they're competitive, but where's your Super Bowl, Seattle?
Right. And
they haven't even been back to the Super Bowl since.
And that's where I think, a guy like Patrick Mahomes is an exception, or maybe the exception.
We'll see.
Because he is the type of player that when you watch him play, it's like watching a Steph Curry or a Michael Jordan, or anybody in team sports that you associate just the ability to take over at will.
Right.
And impose their will and win the game at any juncture, just because they decided to turn it on and they can do that. There's not a lot of players, ever at any point in time or throughout history that you can really say that about. But Mahomes has that feel about him when you watch him play. Look what he did in the Super Bowl. They lost the first 50 minutes of that game.
Right.
And then all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes blew up for the final 10 and Chiefs are your champions.
Sure.
And they did that like 2 weeks prior against the Texans or whatever, when the Texans were up like 21-0 or 28-0, whatever the heck it was.
The true test for him is when the true test for him is 3 years from now, when he's actually like feeling those bumps and bruises and he can't escape and buy the same kind of time he can now. That's when you're going to see, because you and I've had extensive conversations. I'm not the biggest fan of the mobile quarterback.
Sure.
They're just, once they're no longer the best athlete on the field.
The short shelf life, I get that.
Yeah, and they get shut down, and then they just don't have the intangibles, the training, the discipline, the mental ability, fucking still. And that's why you see Tom Brady's and Peyton Manning's and these fucking quarterbacks that they have 2 left feet. They can barely run 4 yards for a first down, but they're leading the league and they're winning. They're constantly fucking either in the Super. Peyton Manning went to 4 Super Bowls.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
He's 2 but they've also got an incredible sense of balance and small range agility. Where,
I mean, that's
like,
evading pressure, but that's prep.
Exactly.
Because you don't have the athletic skill. That's because you don't have the athletic ability to run away. So you have to learn to stand in the pocket, and when pressure comes at you, you don't fucking do a Dante Culpepper where you do the backspin and you run that way. Like you see Russell Wilson is like the master of that right now. It's the back turn. Yep. So the guy's coming from your left side, you spin to your right, and then boom, you're behind him, roll into your left, and you get rid of it.
Yep.
No, the pocket passers, if that guy's coming in maybe like off the guard, off that left guard, that gap, that B gap or something, right? You're gonna dip your shoulder and let him come over you this way, and then either hold on to the ball and take the sack, or you're going to see it coming, prepare for it, keep your discipline in your eyes upfield, make your read, and then make the fucking throw on a dime and take that hit like a man.
Yep.
Now, the reason I say it like that is because those are the guys, as long as they have the spine, so to speak, the mental fortitude to withstand that physical punishment, they actually typically have long, successful careers. Whether you're a backup or a starter, those are the guys that last in the NFL. These guys who are supreme athletes, man, they get figured out and they get shut the fuck down. You know, because you're not the fastest kid around anymore, dude.
No. Or they tend to be a little more injury prone due to the style as well. I mean, you know, you think of guys like RG3, you think of guys like Kaepernick,
Culpepper.
Politics aside.
Culpepper.
You know, Culpepper would be another one. Yeah. Their window of being in their prime and being effective seems to be smaller.
I agree, man.
Because that's just one of the ways to counter what you're trying to counter.
Right.
You know, like we just spoke about how the other people who aren't that athletically gifted still have ways they can counter that same rush. I'm going to use your speed and your momentum against you.
Correct.
You know, and just let you blow by me and miss me.
Yep.
Instead of trying to outrun you.
Yep. Or you fucking step up in the pocket.
Yep. You just
and let your blocker just push him a little farther this way now. And you just buy yourself that one step. You know, making sure your footwork's perfect. So when you go to make that plant foot, whether you're right-handed or that forward foot, making sure your foot lands on the ground level. You don't step on your toe. You don't land on your heel. Because I don't know, a lot of people know this. We'll get real nerdery real quick here. If you land on your toe, you have a tendency for your ball to go down.
Sure.
If you land on your heel, the ball tends to float on you. I learned that in pitching as a baseball pitcher. It's one of the most crucial things about throwing a baseball properly in the right spot is your fucking footwork. And then when I learned that and started getting serious about football, I seen a direct 100% translation into the quarterback position for that too. So when people ask me about quarterbacks, I look at their footwork. Drew Brees is the only exception because he's hopping around on his toes. I don't know how the fuck that dude does it and throws an accurate football to save my goddamn life. It's it's like it defies the laws of football physics, right? You know, or sports physics. But if you look at every other quarterback, the good ones have great footwork.
Absolutely.
The shitty ones, even if they're great athletes and they're getting away with it for a year or two, the reason I'll jump on a quarterback who's new and be like, nope, that dude's trash. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? The team's fucking 12-4, man. They're fucking number 1 seed, bro. And I'm like, that dude's trash. It's because I'm identifying footwork that isn't being worked on. Because I'm either seeing a lack of progression or I'm seeing regression in the footwork. And specifically the quarterback position, but really all of football. It's built from your footwork up. Your footwork is your foundation. None of that other shit really matters, how fucking big or strong or how much you can bench or any of that shit, if your feet aren't literally in the right fucking spot. I'm sorry, but a lot of it really is that simple.
The number 1 pick in the draft.
End rant.
The number 1 pick in this most recent draft is a perfect example of how the mastery of footwork at the quarterback position will get you all the success you seek.
And that's why I'm high on Nate Stanley, the Vikings pick. His footwork is, for his skill set, where he's at, the playing time he had, he's going to be good. Like, Nate Stanley will be a starting quarterback in this league, provided he's given some good coaching.
I have no idea what his ability to develop is, but when I watched film on him prior to the draft, I was impressed at all the raw tools that were there. He's got really nice prototypical size and arm strength with more athleticism than you would ever expect him to have when you look at him.
Yep, yes. Like Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
I was afraid when I saw
that's the exciting part of him to me. But whether he'll be able to put all the intangibles and stuff together and apply those skills at the NFL level, that anybody's guess is as good at to me, and I can't really say.
I'm willing to go on record and say Nate Stanley will probably end up being a starting quarterback in this NFL. I hope to God it's with the Vikings because I really think he's going to be great. He's got the accuracy. When his footwork is good, he's got perfect accuracy. I'm not even saying perfect. I'm not saying when his footwork is perfect. When his footwork is good, he has great accuracy. He's got an elite level arm. I was afraid when I first saw the Ben Roethlisberger comparison. I was afraid I was doing that subconsciously because of the similar of the color of the jerseys, black and gold or black and yellow or whatever. But I went back and watched him again and again and again. And no, he has this uncanny ability to use his size deceptively well as far as his agility and his ability to scramble for that extra first down or whatever.
Absolutely.
And I thought to myself, I said, okay, I got to figure out what the fuck's going on with this kid. How does he drop to the 7th round? How is this the one quarterback I hadn't heard of in this entire draft? He's even in the Big Ten. Okay. The Gophers lost to this kid, and I still hadn't heard of him. I watched him beat the Gophers and still hadn't heard of him. How's that? Because he plays for Iowa. That's how. So I'm like, okay, well, he plays for Iowa, but how did he only go to Iowa? How did Wisconsin miss on this kid? He's got to be dumb. Checked his Wonderlic score. Nope. Top score.
Nice.
He's fucking smart.
Nice.
So I just think somehow, some way, Wisconsin missed on him. He ended up in Iowa.
So and it'd be a personality thing.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's simply because, again, Iowa has a system. They are not going to change their offense to highlight Nate's skill set. Sure. No, they run the fucking football. And you look at Nate's stats the year before when he had weapons. TJ Hawkinson, I think, was the tight end.
Yep. And Noah Fant.
Exactly. The two tight ends. Yep. Look at that year's stats. Yep. And you go, holy shit, this kid should have been a top 10 pick. Like, literally. Yep. And then it was the second year when all those playmakers left and he had no help.
Yep.
His stats dropped. People looked at that as an indictment on him, and it's like, nope. So we might have a steal there. We just got to develop quarterbacks, and that's what we haven't been able to do. As long as
my lifetime.
There you go.
In my lifetime.
Yep. That's what we got to learn how to do is develop a fucking quarterback. And I thought we were getting it in Teddy Bridgewater under a guy like Norv Turner, which would have made sense. That math equals up. Norv Turner, great quarterback whisperer. That would have made sense. And then Norv left, and fucking Teddy ended up leaving too because of the injury. So it's like, fuck, man, that was our best chance. So I like the idea that we got Kirk. We extended him because it doesn't force us to try to groom a quarterback now. Doesn't because we're still kind of in a win now mentality.
Absolutely,
wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, given the big name, big contracts that you've got on both sides of the ball, whether you like them or not, Barr and Kendricks are both big contracts. Harrison Smith is a big contract. Anthony Harris for this year at least is a big contract. Daniil Hunter is a big contract. And that's just on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
And so then offense, obviously, you've got Cousins we all know about. Thielen's a big contract. Rudolph is one of the 5 biggest contracts for tight ends in all of football.
That contract has got to be fixed, and then so does the Riley Reef contract.
And that's where I was going to go next too. And then Riley Reef is getting almost $15 million a year, which I'm not a Riley Reef ripper. I think he's actually not nearly as bad as he's usually made out to be.
Sure.
But that said, he's either a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, and that's all he's ever going to be anymore.
Right.
So it's not terrible. You can work with it, but like taper your expectations too.
Right.
And maybe have some security blankets in
So
place
that leads
around
me-
him.
That leads me to the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is
and then you get like, and then every year you've got like a guy like Cook now who is wanting his cut of the pie. And it's like, well, we're trying to work all the other ones out yet.
Well,
so,
and he's still
ahead.
got some shit to prove.
Yes. Agreed.
I mean, we don't have to move on from that yet. We can talk about Cook we can talk about Cook for a minute, because here's the thing is, like, I get it, dude. You're arguably the second best running back in the NFL.
You might be. Yep.
Christian McCaffrey's number one with a bullet.
Yep.
Come at me. Like
you might be better than Saquon. You might not. You might be better than Zeke. You might not. But the fact that it's a question is all that there needs to be.
Right.
So
McCaffrey's number one with a bullet. Cook,
agreed.
you might be the second best running back in the NFL. I get that. But you have yet to play a complete season.
Mm-hmm.
And you just had one plus 1,000. You had your first plus 1,000-yard season. You hadn't done that the year before.
Right.
Like, you still need to prove it one more year, which is, again, another reason I like the Anthony Harris contract, is because same thing. You had one blowout year. You might be the best free safety in the NFL, or strong safety, wherever Mike has him. It doesn't really matter. It's the same position in his scheme. But you had 1 year. Mm-hmm. That's the point of the franchise take. Go out there and prove it again.
Yep. Well, exactly. And as Vikings fans, like, I feel like that's been one of the consistent franchise stories my whole life, is having the running backs that come in and have a good 1 to 3 years.
Yep.
And then somebody else comes in and does the same thing. You go from Terry Allen to Leroy Horde to Ontario Smith to Michael Bennett to Mo Williams to, who just on and on down the line. And like all of them seem Scotty Graham. Like, I mean, there's so many names, but they all come in and they all produce.
Right.
Just consistently for this organization. My whole life watching them at the running back position. So it's at the same time having seen that and then seeing other teams too. Like, granted, the names we brought up are the first round draft pick exceptions, but you look throughout the league as a whole and it's just covered in people's starting running backs being second to sixth round draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And Cook wasn't a first-round draft pick.
Second.
We got him in the middle of the second round for the most part.
Nailed it, yep.
So just knowing that level of availability on a consistent basis too, like to financially commit to that specific person in that specific role for anything more than just, 2-3 years chunks, to me is just really... It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, no matter how deserving or worthy the player will be of that, because like I'm not trying to devalue the running back position or say that Cook ain't that good or like none of that. I'm just saying, like, well, you could probably get someone that's fairly close to as good as him in any draft, and you won't have to take him before the third round, likely too.
Real. I mean, that's one of the. I think that's one of the most credible arguments out there, is the running back position is just not worth investing big money into. I think you would agree with that, just in general. You just kind of talked about that. But another one that's surprising is let me ask you this before we get into this thing, because this is one of your big staples here, is this stuff over here, and I want to dive into that now that we've had some time to really think about it, because I want to make some more predictions. You and I both are pretty opinionated around that time of year. Anyways, when's the last time a team won the Super Bowl with a genuine, bona fide, superstar, top 10 salary receiver?
Ooh, excellent question. Excellent question. None of the recent, last 2, 3, 5 years come to mind.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you too much on the spot, so I'm going to pull up a list of the Super Bowl champs.
So I'm going to try not to cheat.
No, you can look at the screen.
Well, I mean,
I'm just going to put the names of the teams up, and we'll just like quickly. This isn't a football integrity test. You know what I mean?
The greatest show on turf is probably the last great receiving core that I remember that I can think of winning the Super Bowl with both Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce.
But when they won,
other than Tyreek Hill, I mean,
but when they won, were either of them being paid accordingly?
Not from a production or talent standpoint, but from a paycheck standpoint.
Correct.
Ooh,
because remember where we came from in this conversation, which is running back is pretty verified to not be a great place to put a lot of money.
Yep.
I'm bringing up a new one no one is really talking about, the wide receiver position. It's one of the dumbest places you could put your money. So real quick, let's just glance at this list.
Yep.
Right? So here we are. We got...
Well, that's the first
yeah,
one.
that's the way back at the beginning. All right.
There we go.
So now granted, when we get here and we look at the Chiefs here, they had some names, but not the salaries at that position, right? The closest thing you could say is Sammy Watkins, okay? Patriots,
and he's not even the best. I mean, Kelsey and Hill both are
correct,
better,
right?
Superior,
okay, Patriots, nope. Eagles, nope.
No.
Patriots again, nope. Obviously, Broncos when they won, nope.
No.
Patriots again, nope.
The Peyton one,
Seahawks. They've never had elite wide receivers.
No,
right? Not at least on the salary side of things.
When they beat the Broncos in that first one, they were just all boom, Legion of Boom, and defense and rookie quarterback.
The Ravens when Joe Flacco took them, nope. Wide receiver was it, dude? They had breakout players in the playoffs and Super Bowl for the wide receivers.
The blackout
game, yep. When the Giants beat the Patriots, that's the year. That's the second year Randy Moss was still on that Super Bowl team.
Was that the David Tyree helmet catch?
Sure, they were there twice. But they had two of those where their receivers were like good and everything. And we're not this argument we're unfolding here, you guys, right now as we're doing this whole little thing here. We're not diminishing the talent of these wide receivers. We're identifying a theory here that none of these guys had invested heavy capital, salary cap is what we're saying, into that wide receiver position. They invested it in other places. So, boom, Packers. Same thing. They didn't have top-tier wide receivers. They had Donald Driver, who wasn't a top-tiered guy.
Right.
He didn't get paid at all. Greg Jennings didn't get paid until he came here.
To Minnesota, right.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Saints before that. I do believe they had
Marquise
Michael Thomas.
Colston?
I think they had Michael Thomas, but I think he was also like a rookie or in his second year, maybe.
Oh, not the Michael Thomas they have right now.
Okay. Then
no. Michael Thomas was a rookie the same year that Laquan Treadwell was a rookie.
Okay,
that's the draft that he was in.
Okay, so now we're all the way back.
I think we're looking at like Marquise Colston and guys like that.
Fair. So now we're all the fucking way back in 2008, 2009 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This would be the closest one you could make. Hines Ward. But you look at that, he was 1,000-yard receiver, which is good, not elite. It's standard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you kept your job.
Yeah.
And paycheck-wise, not a top-tier guy.
Right, exactly.
It was actually a year or two later he got that contract extension. That's when he became... And then, look, there's no more Steelers Super Bowls.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, Colts, same thing.
The one exception I'd point out here now
this would be
in the one right before that where it's the other Giants over the Patriots.
Plaxico Burress?
No, the losing team in that one, I believe, the Patriots, that was the Randy Moss.
That was the undefeated season.
Yep. So they had a lot of money into Randy Moss.
But they didn't win the Super Bowl.
And I also,
see where I'm going
even
with
though
this?
they had Wes Welker, he wasn't getting money yet at that point.
See where I'm going? So the closest one we can find is way back in 2006, Reggie Wayne. Marvin Harrison, and I believe it was just Marvin Harrison. Reggie Wayne was on that team, but he wasn't being paid yet. So
okay, you're probably right.
But look how far back we had to go. Almost 15 years. Yep. 15 fucking years.
Yep.
The last time a team had a genuine top tier, top paid wide receiver.
Well, and there's pressure for teams to pay for wide receivers.
It's a glitzy, glammy position.
It's a glitzy, glammy
Sells
position.
tickets.
It sells tickets. It's a passing league, after all. You need 3 of them that can be on the field and get the job done at the same time at any given time. Sometimes 4. You're going to need at least 6 total probably on your roster. So there's plenty of temptation to pay big money on a receiver or into your receiving core. But that being said, like, even when I think of the greatest receiving cores of all times, I don't associate championships with any of them other than Rice and Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to go Jerry Rice.
You know, well, Swan and Stallworth, I suppose, as well. But I mean,
look how
far back.
You got to go farther to get to those guys, right? So before that, it would have been
Colton Bruce, I guess, Wayne and Harrison.
Maybe like you said, so we're still going back in time, but before like the Rice era, before that it would have been
Reed and Lofton. No,
they lost. They never won the Super Bowl.
Monk, Clark, and Sanders in Washington.
No, it would have been the closest thing. The closest thing since that Colts team in 06 would have been the greatest show on turf. But again, those guys hadn't gotten paid yet. They got paid like a year or 2 later and never won another Super Bowl. Then you go before that. The last one I can even remember then, it's Dallas with Michael Irvin.
Yep.
That's it.
Exactly.
You gotta, and then, so it's like every 5 or 6 years, one of those teams actually won the Super Bowl, or a few. However, now the last time it's truly happened was 06. That was almost 15. This season will be 15 seasons exactly, because it was the 2005 season, 2006 Super Bowl. I think we just had that up, right? But let me hold on. I don't want to.
Everyone or almost every one of those examples.
No, it was 06, 07. So 14
also had
seasons.
the great quarterback piece to go along with it. You know, or at least the box is checked. It's competent enough. It's not a liability. I mean, and that's the thing is, if you really look at this, all of these teams had solid or great quarterbacks everywhere. This is the one questionable one, is that fucking Doug Williams Washington Redskins Super Bowl run there in like the 88 era. But that they won a few. I think they won 3. So that actually could have been this one. Even Mark Rippon then in where was it, 91, 92 there.
Right.
Over the Bills. That was at the HHH.
Yeah, that was here. Yep.
That was here at the Metrodome.
So here you have a solid quarterback. You have a Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer. Joe Flacco. This is the Trent Dilfer Super. That's a super solid though. Game manager. Is what he didn't do was lose you a game. Didn't make any mistakes.
Absolutely.
Hall of Famer Brad Johnson, same thing. Game manager, didn't lose you the game, didn't make any mistakes. Definite Hall of Famer, obviously. Roethlisberger's going to the Hall of Fame. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
He should.
Indiana fucking Hall of Famer. I don't know about Eli Manning. He'll probably still end up
the
in
middle ground.
He's gonna go to the Hall of Fame, and probably should, just for total career stats. 2 Super Bowl victories. The only player other than the Eagles, up until that point, to beat Brady and Belichick in the Super Bowl. They did it twice. They're the ones that took down the undefeated team. You got to give them a lot of credit. Those things in context almost weigh more than, because I guarantee you the Eagles don't beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl if they hadn't laid down that game plan and shown how it's done.
They're Buster Douglas beating Tyson twice. Or like, they're just they're the.
They were literally undefeated.
Eli Manning was the kryptonite to the Patriots Superman.
And then look, we jumped to fucking 09.
The Ollie to the Frazier, the whatever, counter the mongoose to the snake. I don't know animals.
No, you know what this is? This isn't that's literally was it Buster Douglas that beat Tyson? No.
I think it was.
It was. That is the greatest. That's the greatest upset in sports history. All right, so again, just finish this stupid little rant up. Hall of Famer in the Saints. Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer. We're back to Eli Manning. Here again, Joe Flacco, not the greatest quarterback. Had a great season. Got paid after this.
Yes.
This is Russell Wilson. He was not good. Like, statistically, he was not a great quarterback. It was that defense that won the Super Bowl that year.
Absolutely, though. But that's not just. But again,
but now he'll be a Hall of Famer.
When the stakes got higher, he didn't do anything to put you in jeopardy.
Correct.
And
he wouldn't lose you the game. Exactly.
Also,
I think he's going to be a future Hall of Famer because now he is. Yeah. I think arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. It's him and Mahomes, and I'm putting him above Mahomes simply because he's been proving he's getting better. He's getting better each year. Despite everything I argued earlier about the mobile, he's the exception, not the rule. He's the one mobile quarterback out there that scares the fucking shit out of me because when he's mobile, he's buying time to throw, and he is getting better each season. As teams scheme him more and more, he's out scheming them.
Well, and that's where I was going to go with it is I feel like Wilson has gotten to the point where he makes the least amount of mistakes of any quarterback in all of football.
Right. Like if you're quantifying it?
Right. If you could quantify it, what's a bad play? Find a way to quantify a bad play from other
He's got to be up there, man.
He's got to be towards the absolute top of fewest bad plays for his position, and that's where Mahomes, he'll still make the wrong decision from time to time. He'll do some things to set you behind the 8 ball.
Oh,
but then
he will, we should also do?
But then he'll impose his will before the game's done and make up for it.
You just said something that reminded me. All of these, when we go back all the way back here to anybody who wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback. So this team here with Dilfer, this team here with the Bucks. Let's go a little bit farther forward. This Giants team. Even though Eli will be a Hall of Famer, statistically, he wasn't very good that season, and he also wasn't really a top 10 paid quarterback yet. Same thing with this one down here. Okay, the same deal. Like I think they were fucking 8-8 that season, or 10-6 or some shit. Yeah, there it is, right there, 10-6.
Sure. Yep.
They were 10-6. And then
both times I felt like they were backed
8-8.
in. Yeah, both times they've backed in.
I'm pretty much 100% certain they were 8-8 here. They lost the last game
or
of the regular
9-7. They didn't win double-digit games.
And they lost the last game of the regular season to the Patriots that year. I remember that. And Randy Moss set the single season touchdown record in that game on some ridiculous bomb down at
I want to
say
the Giants were close to winning that regular season game.
They were.
It was just enough. To where, gosh, if we run into these,
basically the Patriots dominated the fourth quarter of that game. But yes, for 3 quarters, it was literally, I think, tied. And maybe even, if I remember right, New York might have even been winning by 6 points, 2 field goals.
Yeah.
But then the fourth quarter came, and they just fucking took over. This Ravens team, Joe Flacco, we just talked about this. There's a commonality. This Seahawks team, this Broncos team, even with Hall of Famer Peyton Manning.
That was Von
this
Miller's
Eagles team. This Eagles team here. Okay? Any of these Super Bowls that we pointed out that didn't have a Hall of Famer at quarterback had an elite level defense. That's the commonality there. Is you don't have to have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Correct.
It is definitely clearly the most proven way to do it.
Absolutely.
However, you can still do it other ways. That's really all I was going at. And there's dozens of cases just 3 years ago.
No, I agree.
All of these teams can do that. So you got to have the complete unit.
I agree with every point you made. The one thing I would like to add to it is, it's easy for all of us to notice and remember and be aware of those elements of a football team.
In retrospect.
But if we were able, with our same recollections, or if we, were able to put together some kind of rankings or list or whatever and reference it or whatever, if we went through those same teams and did the same things looking at offensive lines, and as a collective, did they have how good was their offensive line?
Also great.
I think you're going to find the same thing that, like with quarterbacks, where, boy, the vast majority, two-thirds, 3/4.
So here's what we've identified. We've identified several commonalities in this entire thread of analyzing this. Great quarterback helps. Minimum, have a quarterback that won't lose you a game. Number 2 commonality, because even the ones that do have Hall of Fame quarterbacks that won these, they also had pretty fucking great defenses that year.
Mm-hmm.
Almost none of them, until you go back to 2006, had top 10 paid wide receivers. So that brings me to the Diggsy trade, why I love it so much. I think they made a brilliant fucking move getting him off the fucking team, even though we're going to take the penalty on the contract.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, I don't think, just about the drama and his instability and tenacity and shit like that. I think Zimmer kind of likes guys like that, a little fiery, a little chip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the simple fact that they went, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to get, almost like how that movie, it's a fucking baseball movie with
basketball.
Nope. You fuck.
Field of Dreams.
No. Moneyball.
Okay.
Like Johnny Damon isn't worth X amount of dollars. You let that guy go because what he's going to get on the market isn't worth. So I think they figured out real quick they don't need that level of production from their wide receivers because he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver. Let somebody else be on the hook for the majority of that money, because I don't think we're on the hook for the entire contract, because we did extend him, gave him a big contract, and then traded him.
Yeah.
We're on the hook for some of that, but I don't think it's the whole thing.
No, it would only be like whatever the guaranteed money.
And I don't think it's the entire duration of the contract either. Isn't it just the next season or two?
Everything that's salary, yearly salary in there, we wouldn't have any part of whatsoever.
Right.
It would all be, or anything that he earns in that via incentives or things like that as well. The only things would be any sort of guarantees would be what we would owe him for that, and that might include signing bonuses, but I don't know how much of that you get right then and there, or how they stretch that out to you. Like I don't know.
I don't even enjoy looking into that shit. That's where I don't enjoy football is like truly understanding the contracts. It's like that's the
right. Well, the players don't even want to. That's why they pay somebody else to do it.
Right. Like, neither does the coach or the GM. That's why you have a fucking what do we call him, the VP of operations?
Yeah, something. I think that's his title.
Brzezinski is his name, right?
Yeah. Yep, I think Vice President of Football Operations.
And he's great. He's really great at managing that cap.
That capologist, yes.
Dude, because you look at the Vikings salary every year, and it's like, how the fuck are we going to... And every year they pull it off.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's been doing this for 20 years, so it's not like he's mortgaging the future.
Right.
We're no fucking Redskins Washington football team organization.
Nope.
Because that's a fucking disease.
But it does always come at somebody's expense. Like it comes at Teddy and Case's expenses, for example.
We'll see what happens.
I won't say Diggs.
Case ain't done shit since.
No,
we'll see what happens with Teddy.
But like, I won't say Diggs because I do feel like there was definitely some, a large amount of wearing out his welcome on purpose because for whatever reason,
Diggsy?
Because for whatever reason he didn't want to be here anymore.
Sure.
It's probably the old tactic I used to use with girlfriends, 20 some years ago. Like, you don't want to officially be the one to break up with them, but so you just kind of start showing them the uglier side of you all the time, so that they
break up with you.
Yeah, so exactly.
Yep,
like I feel like that's what Diggs was kind of doing for whatever reason, and I think from a playing standpoint, he's an absolute stud, and I won't ever say anything bad about him as a talent.
I don't know, man. He dropped a lot of fucking easy passes. I think he's great, but I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is.
If you look at his catch percentage, which incorporates drops and things like that, he's pretty much identical with Thielen throughout the past 4 years, throughout their career.
Yeah, but it's in different situations.
Because that's a fair point.
Diggs's drops are easy catches.
That's
most
a fair
of
point.
them. Because it's almost like he's manipulating the numbers because he won't dive for a ball he can't catch, right?
Sure.
He's dropping balls that hit him in the fucking face mask, dude.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Where he's looking to run before he's completed the process of the catch and things like that.
Exactly. Yes. Thielen drops catches in traffic, right? Or my biggest issue with Thielen's hands are he doesn't trust him enough and he makes too many body catches. And some of those go incomplete.
Absolutely. I've noticed that.
That's why I don't like comparing these fucking stats because, again, it's the eye test, man. It's the fucking eye test, dude. And I'm telling you right now, I think the Vikings made a smart move by jettisoning Fuckboy and reinvesting that money somewhere else, whether it's draft picks or whatever, which kind of leads us to my next thing.
Sweet.
So have you had a second chance to deep dive the draft since we've done it?
Well, it depends on what you mean by deep. I mean, I have definitely reviewed things, reviewed people, looked at more tape, but at the same time, I haven't like done a full re-scouting of anybody other than the full scouting I did leading up to it. Like, we'll revisit some things about players, and is it more of a concern than I think it should be, or less? Is it a bigger strength even? Like how will it translate now that we know the scheme that it's going to be in and the players for a supporting cast that are going to be around it?
Right.
Let's just establish some kind of basic realistic expectations, and standards that were like, just meet this criteria, meet this bar.
Sure.
Go from there.
Sure.
But no, I'm really familiar with all these guys, and
all right,
one of my favorites isn't even up here yet.
I'm sharing that screen right now.
Okay.
I'm sharing that screen, so we're not even on camera. They can still hear us.
Cool.
So we'll just try to be a little bit more careful about dead air and shit like that. So Justin Jefferson, I think, is a pretty obvious, unanimous, great pick there.
I wouldn't go that far. I think Justin Jefferson is a nice, safe pick, but I would not say that he's a great pick because in my personal opinion, with all the tape I watched of the entire wide receiver class and all the other positions as well, with offensive line being my most junky, that I watch a lot of. But I watched a ton of receivers knowing the Vikes need, especially this year, and a ton of D-backs knowing the Vikes need this year. And I felt like Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State is just Stephon Diggs version 2.0 and is an immediate replace the old guy.
Him.
No, but
we drafted this guy.
But I feel like he's a guaranteed star. Whether he'll be troublesome or not, I could see that being an issue with him too. Denzel Mims was the other guy that I looked at and just went, this guy reminds me of Moss, but beefier, and maybe with little less speed, little less chip on his shoulder, but like
Anwar
can go up in the air and get the ball.
And I think I clued you up to Mims.
Yes.
That was Anwar's scout.
Yes.
Anwar scouted that, not me. However, I watched him once and I was like, seems like he's lucky, makes a lot of, fucking cool catches and shit, but blah, blah, blah. Dude, I spent an entire day searching for Denzel Mims footage, and when I finally found it, guess what convinced me?
The route running?
No. This is footwork.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Well,
what do you run routes with? Your feet, man. Okay, all right.
And I set that
tomato,
up for you.
Tomato,
the only reason I'm giving you shit is because I was talking about footwork earlier, right?
That was great.
No, but that's what it really was, is I realized that this dude's footwork was off the charts. He's as good, if not better, than anyone else in the NFL when it comes to genuine footwork. Now, as a rookie, he's already up at that level, and then his upper body
and then
the
raw stuff, exactly.
Dude,
his size and speed is Megatron-like almost.
We didn't draft these guys, so let's not muse on the guys we missed on. Let's talk about these fucks, okay? Because now this dude, here's the thing, man, is between Thielen and this guy. And let's not forget, we still have some other emerging wide receivers that started showing up last year, like B.C. Johnson. For a rookie, he way outperformed. A 7th-round draft pick out of fucking Colorado or Colorado State, whatever it was, caught 2 or 3 touchdowns his first season. He wasn't even supposed to see the field for 2 or 3 years per NFL standard expectations, right?
Yep.
And just like Diggs, who was a 5th-round pick out of Maryland, earned playing time as the season went on by sheer work ethic and talent.
Yep.
it didn't even come direct. I mean, it was a direct result of injuries, but there were still other receivers on the roster that could have gotten the start after Thielen went down, but it didn't. It went to BC for a fucking reason. He handled it.
Absolutely.
He made big catches in pressure situations with a quarterback who's literally being yelled at because he's not giving the ball to fucking what's his name, Diggs, fuck boy, and he's still got to take care of Thielen and Randolph or Rudolph and the other tight end we have, the new kid, Irv
Smith Jr.
Yeah, which I think he's going to be elite too. Right, so like we could spend an entire 4-hour podcast deep diving all the Vikings drafts over the last 5 to 10 years, which is some of the shit you do online, which is where we have some of our like
our most intense back
or
and forth.
Or at least our most like often and genuine interactions. That's what I was going to say. Because this is kind of where our worlds merge, right? So I'm looking at Justin Jefferson being a guy who I think I can step in this year, earn a starting position, possibly as early as week 1.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
Not, he's going to be beat out by a guy who's already on the team, knows the system a little better than him, and he's just going to have a little bit of a learning curve there. Slot guy, potential outside guy. I think he's got the size, the speed. I think he's going to be a perennial starter. I think he is a 7 to 10 year player in this league, assuming there's no major injuries.
Yes. He reminds me a little bit of, I mean, if we want to compare him to pro Vikings in their pro careers, I see BC a little bit as a Nate Burleson. And I see Justin Jefferson as this really, he is a unique hodgepodge of a lot of people's traits that we've seen over the years. He's got good speed, he's got good hands, he runs good routes. He's got good build. He seems to have good character. He comes from a winning program and pedigree. There really don't seem to be any red flags with him at all.
Yeah, and for me,
which is nice, being in a win now mode, and looking for someone to come in and compete for the number 2 job and or the number 3 job.
Yep,
those are very important things.
Now, this is a guy you directly predicted the Vikings taking. You actually said we would end up with this guy at this pick.
Yes.
This is actually, you nailed this one. You said the Vikings will get Jeff Gladney at 31. We
as
wanted
long
some
as
other
he was
guys.
Still available, because I felt like there was a potential mini run on DBs that was going to occur and might occur before our second pick. But luckily there wasn't, or what there was, we were still happy with the guys on the board. But when I watched his film, everything about his playing style seems like absolute textbook, like Mike Zimmer created out of a lab. This guy's very, very physical with his press skills and his man coverage. He covers tight. He's not the fastest guy, but he rarely gets burnt deep. Doesn't let anything get past him. As good of a tackler at his position as was in this entire draft. So the ability to be an every down defensive back, able both to play the run and the pass. I think he's your immediate nickelback starting day one.
That's exactly what I think.
Whether or my only issue with us taking him was, for me, if I'm taking a cornerback in the first round, I want a guy who has the potential to be a shutdown Darrelle Revis type of number 1.
That's what I think super ironic about this is I think he's exactly what you said. I think he's an immediate nickel corner now. Like this
day
year,
1,
he's our nickel. I think we still have, people are sleeping on the quarterback corners that didn't leave the team. I think we got a few really good ones. So I think that part's going to be fine. I don't want to skip I want to go in order here so we can keep this tight.
Yes.
But I'm gonna tease this because I like Jeff Gladney.
I'm a big fan of the Gladney pick overall, though.
Yeah, but I think, and I'm gonna just tease this guy right down here. I think this kid Cameron Dantzler.
Yep.
I watched so much film on this kid. I think this is going to be a superstar pick. Okay, but let's stay in order here.
Okay,
let's stay in order.
Cool.
All I really wanted to say was that I think this kid is going to be better in the long run than this kid. That's it. But I still love that pick there because I think he's the most pro-ready to come into the nickel slot or even the dime scenario and immediately make an impact, not lose us the game regularly, right? Like some other guys we've seen. Like, dude, Anthony Harris's first year, I'm sorry, man, he was fucking garbage. His second year started suddenly making some plays, still made a lot of mistakes. Last year blew up. That's what I think you don't get in Gladney is you don't get that learning curve. He's going to come in, and I think he's going to end up staying at nickel. I don't think he's going to do that typical thing where you jump from nickel your first year, second year, and then your third year you jump outside. That's what usually happens in the Viking system. I think is what's going to happen. He'll end up being the ideal nickel, and Dantzler takes that job from him. But let's go to Cleveland next.
If they want him to, I'll just throw this in real quick. If there is a position jump with Jeff Gladney after year one or the first handful of years, I believe it would be moving him from the nickelback spot to Anthony Harris's safety spot, because I believe that Gladney could be an absolute beast of a safety given his tackling prowess,
maybe
his motor. He's not going to be a ball hawk safety that gets you a ton of interceptions.
Right.
But I think he could be an absolute beast of a safety as well.
I mean, and safety
given his physicality and his
spots.
Range and his intelligence and his motor. He's got all the basics of a great safety as well.
And safety is a spot you can get away with not being 6 feet tall.
Yep, exactly.
Which you can get away with that at corner as well, but it's a little easier to get away with it at and I could easily see them making a transition like that as he maybe later in his career as well, as he gets older, maybe loses a step.
The one I wish they would have did with Winfield.
This is the one I don't like.
I agree. I don't like the Cleveland pick.
This is the pick I really don't like. I don't know why everyone's so high on him. I didn't really realize when we first hit this. I didn't realize they were playing. Hold on. I didn't realize they were playing highlights down here. So as we're talking, this film is being played.
Yep.
Like again, I'm watching this kid's footwork, and I'm not.
He's a project.
I'm not impressed.
No,
I see him up on his toes. I see him getting. Look at that, dude. He's behind he's behind his guy. Dude, here it looks good.
His
in
balance
motion,
is all over the place on half of these.
motion, he looks good. Like on the pull out in space, he looks
in
pretty
a zone
good there.
Scheme when you move him.
Yep. So he looks pretty decent there. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the guy who starts at left or right guard immediately.
That's what they're doing right now. As of right now, they're practicing him at guard.
I won't be. He's not a tackle.
He can't pass block out on the edge in the NFL.
No,
at all right now.
He's got to move inside to tackle. This is a guy who's going to do good in that A and B gap. Somebody, for people that don't know what the fuck we're talking about when we say A and B gap, like we're going to get, again, we won't get super nerdy on this shit, but if you're looking at like on Madden and you got your center and then you have 2 guards and 2 tackles and then maybe like a tight end and then your wide receivers. That center right above your quarterback, when you're looking at him, the A gap is on each side of the center. They're both A gaps.
The space in between the center and the guard.
Yep, and then the B gap is between the guards and the tackle, and then the C gap is literally outside of the tackles, and then in certain systems there is an E gap, which comes off that outside of the tight end.
Yep, labeled E for edge.
Yep, exactly. And then
instead of the D for the progression in the alphabet.
Yep. And this does correlate to like when you hear people talk about a 1 technique, a 2 technique, a 3 technique. We won't deep dive the defensive side today.
Sure.
But that does play into that because that's the defensive version using numbers instead of letters to say where he lines up. So like a 2 technique or a 3 technique is literally where that guy lines up his shoulder pads versus the offensive lineman's shoulder pads. So we're in agreement. I think he could be a solid 5 to 7 year starting guard in this league.
Agreed. In his own scheme.
Yep. But I'm not a fan of that pick there. I think there was, I can't remember who, but there was somebody else I was way higher on up there.
You give me Oregon's guard Shane. If we're looking for a guy to play guard anyway, give me like Oregon's Shane Lemieux.
Sure.
Around 4 or 5 anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
I can only remember the names that we drafted now.
Sure.
Or huge names I genuinely coveted, like the Denzel Mims, those type of players. But it's just offensive linemen. There's so fucking many of them. I mean, there's 10 on each team minimum. Let alone, you know what I mean? There's just fucking hundreds of them. There's too many of them. Now, this is the guy I think is the sneakiest pick possibly of this draft that no one's really talking about. As you see this film pop up, I'm telling you, man, this guy is fucking something else, dude. This guy is somebody. This is a guy who has no business being as good as he is. He's fearless for his size. He's just a fucking monster. Like, look at that dude.
Oh, no.
Look at this fucking kid.
Dantzler plays.
He's eyes on the quarterback. Let's rewind that one. This is a huge play here because he's in a zone formation.
Yep.
Coming in a zone defense
his
here.
Guy.
Right there. Okay. So right here, and you guys don't have a cursor, so you can't see. I'm circling him up there by the number 10. This receiver that's approaching him here, I'd really need to turn my cursor back on so people can see what I'm pointing at.
Yeah. Pointing at the guy in the white jersey on the top left of the screen.
Dantzler here turns his head and looks back at the quarterback. Most corners are focused, lasered on his wide receiver because it's zone. And then is what he's going to do is he's going to panic and look at, I think this is number 15 right here, and see what he's doing.
That might be Jennings.
But he doesn't. Instead, he backs up. When he knows he's reached his drop, he puts eyes on the quarterback and sees where that ball's going to go, and then this motherfucker just literally makes a play. Boom, there it is. This wide receiver has no idea there's another defensive back there.
No.
Number 15.
And Dantzler's like 6'2" or something, I want to say. So, I mean, he's got elite height for his position.
He's tackling running backs that have 30, 40 pounds on him.
He ran terrible at the combine, but there was some.
He had an injury.
Right, exactly. That was injury related.
A serious knee injury, and he still ran like whatever it was.
He has never looked slow on game film at all. So even though he's got a very unimpressive 40 time from the combine, there's no need to worry about his speed or think that he's slow.
He ain't slow,
man.
I
do think that given the knee injury or whatever it was, as well as he's 6'2" and only like a $185 something, so given his frame and his injury history, he might be a little bit of a health, liability throughout his career. I don't know. I hope not. But I would agree with you that when it comes to him or Gladney, the first round pick, the most upside, the highest ceiling is with the 6'2" Dantzler.
I'm telling you, this guy's a Pro Bowler.
He
someday.
is an elite playmaker if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and all of these things are eliminating the potential of injuries. And talent.
If he can apply himself mentally. Because as impressive as his highlight packages are, he's got some fairly, daunting, unimpressive
here's
packages.
The thing. He's a playmaker.
A little bit like Treadwell, where like just the highlights are great, but if you see the low light package then you go, okay, so there are some issues.
But he's a playmaker. He doesn't play scared.
Absolutely.
And he takes risks almost like an Ed Reed. I know it's not the same position, but Ed Reed has this ability to read the field no pun intended, and make the play. And that's what you're looking for, especially in a system like what Zimmer runs, is we're looking for playmakers. And that guy's a fucking playmaker. And
watching Dantzler when in the plays where he was on the other side of a play being made, it seemed like more often than not, in my opinion, it was due to a lapse or laziness of some kind in technique.
Sure.
And Zimmer will drill the hell that out of him, like,
especially to being in that spot, the secondary.
Yep. He'll drill that out of him. That will.
That's his bread and butter.
Yep. That will weed its way out. But so expect to hear Zim, talking especially about the secondary and the young secondary guys' techniques needing to get better or more consistent for quite a while. And a lot of that will be referring to Dantzler, whether it be by name or not.
Sure.
But he's the one with the ceiling, man. Right. He's the one with the ceiling. But he's also more bust potential than Gladney is. So
so let's ask.
This one I'm not a fan of at all.
I fucking hate this pick.
I'm not a fan of this at all. Nothing against you, DJ Wonham.
I straight up rated this. I straight up rated this guy immediately after
because he played with.
I rated him a bust. I rate him a bust.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a guy who's not even in this league in 3 years.
I viewed him as a day 3 only long shot of a pick when I was ranking my player prospects.
Let's play this for fucking and just see, because I don't see it. I don't get it, man. This doesn't make any fucking sense to me, dude.
Well, and the primary reasons that I was watching a lot of South Carolina defensive line film was because of Javon Kinlaw, who was a first-round defensive tackle that a lot of people were really, really big on. And before we signed Pierce, defensive tackle,
see, what do
was
you
also
see here?
A big need for us.
What do you see here when you watch this?
Okay, all right.
Because I heard this is like one of our coaches' pet cat, basically. Like they think he's the next Danielle Hunter.
The very end of the play, where he's wrapping his arms around a guy, tells me almost nothing about him. I need to see how he got to that point. I need to see how he engaged his blocker or how he read the design of the play to get himself in position to get his arms around that guy. So all these, like this highlight package right here, it's just the end results of plays, but it doesn't show you how he made those plays or if he even made those plays. If another guy on his team made the play and he was just the beneficiary
of it,
of getting it flushed to him, So that's just one thing right away about this highlight package that jumps out to me is I don't see him creating any of these plays in these highlights. I just see him being the guy at the finishing end of a good, successful play for his team. His unit.
You might be onto something, dude, because I'm just not seeing it. I just don't see.
That first one where you can see it a little more, that was just a error on the blocking part on the offensive lineman. That was
like you said. These are such quick cuts.
Mm-hmm. Like this nothing won him.
I don't know what's going on with this fucking website. All of a sudden, it was working fine a second ago. That's fucking weird.
It's
like the Vikings know this guy's highlight reel so shitty, they slow this video down so people can't even make it all the way through it. Like, what did he do? Block a kick on that one? It's like the whole thing's fucking ridiculous. Okay.
Yep.
We'll get off that guy.
No, I was disappointed.
That pick just genuinely kind of pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, I don't fucking get it, dude.
I don't either. I think if you want,
I understand it's a 4th round pick, it's a flyer, but at the same time, there were so many other players we could have grabbed right there, including several potential really good quarterbacks that somehow slid in the draft. Now, this is where we get to a fucking pick that I absolutely love, and people forget the Vikings also picked up a left end. I mean, technically he was a right end, but if the Vikings know what the fuck they're doing, they're going to put Daniil over on the right side. And this new guy, he's also a white dude. He'll end up on the left side, right? So almost like a reverse Jared Allen scenario, right?
Sure.
Because Daniil will be the superior pass rusher there.
By far.
So you want him on the quarterback's blind side for the most part. And then this guy and that other guy we signed, he was on that. I think he was on the Super Bowl. loser. I think he was on the Niners. On the Niners. He was a great pass rusher.
PJ Hall? Are you talking about PJ Hall or like the newest guy we signed to kind of replace Pierce?
Let's just look it up. Hold on. We're already doing all this shit.
Yeah, if you're talking about the guy we just signed.
Vikings free agent signings. Boom. It was...
Because, yeah, PJ Hall is the most recent one I've seen.
No, he's a rookie, right?
No, he's not a rookie. He was a rookie a couple years ago. He's still fairly young, though. Was semi-highly touted going into the draft, and then just, as a mid-round pick, hasn't ever amounted to anything yet.
That doesn't sound like the right name. What the fuck's going on with my computer? The program's running fine, so the podcast is going well. But I don't know what's going on with these fucking websites. Unless Kate's like just killing the internet upstairs or something.
The damn Candy Crush or something.
Anthony Harris, CJ Ham, Britton Colquitt, Eric Wilson, Sean Mannion. Nope, none of these. Oh, wait. Whoa. Oh, shit. I think that was it. Anthony Zell. I think that was it. Let's get back down there. I think he's right. Come on, you cocksucker. There he is. Anthony Zettel. Okay. This kid. Anthony Zettel.
Yes,
yep,
I
came
recall.
from the Niners. Yep.
I recall.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Now, okay, good. I'm glad I fucking... Man. A lot of pressure being on the internet saying shit that you fucking think is right, and then you do, because I don't know who's going to listen to this. I mean, nobody's really listening, but like the people that do, man, if I say something, they'll fucking call me out on that shit. And thankfully right now they're my friends. A couple of years from now, they're going to be a bunch of strangers. They will fucking
that's
eat
the internet
me alive for saying something wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. So this guy, assuming he actually still is even on the roster and remains on the roster, I think you take this defensive end, Anthony Zettel, combined with my guy, James Lynch. Now, I don't think it's smart to put this tiny man. It's funny, I'm calling him tiny. He's a giant compared to me.
Yeah, what is he
but
like?
I don't see his measurements on this. But
I feel like he's
a vastly
6'4", 270-ish.
He's an undersized defensive tackle.
Yes, exactly. He's an undersized defensive tackle and a big defensive end.
Right. Now, unless they're going to try to move like...
We're going to use him as both.
Right, like they did with Everson Griffin and
even
Daniel Hunter in the
even
playoffs.
With Odenigbo
they
last
moved those
year,
guys inside. Yep.
Odenigbo did a lot of playing defensive tackle in pass rushing position situations.
Exactly.
And then going to being a complementary end in more of your every down one.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. All right. So, and you can see the fucking motor on this kid. It's incredible.
Yes, that is definitely one of his biggest strengths.
Fuck? What happened to our highlight reel?
That is definitely one of James Lynch's biggest strengths is his motor.
This kid is, I'm telling you, this is again a steal. This kid is going to be a potential perennial Pro Bowler. Like, it's all work ethic, but he also has this raw, explosive playmaking ability. The way he comes off the edge and then he can get back inside, his ability and just sheer tenacity to outwork. Look at him there. Look at him there, number 93. Boom.
Do you see how his highlights start before the ball is snapped at the snap?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's creating these results.
That's him coming off the edge, making plays, disrupting the quarterback.
Exactly. Disrupting was another word I was going to use too. Yep.
Playmaker. This kid's a fucking playmaker, and it's pure work ethic.
Yep.
All of it's work ethic. I mean, he does have raw athletic skill. I mean, his explosiveness is just incredible, but he's outperforming his size.
He will be a contributor in the NFL for a good 5 to 10 years.
100%. And that's I think his basement. I think his ceiling, if he really, I mean, he could seriously end up being, I don't want to say J.J. Watt, but, maybe J.J. Watt-esque or more of a Jared Allen.
I was going to say Chris Hovan, but it's probably just the white thing.
Yeah, white defensive tackle, sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being like a Jared Allen type, because Jared Allen was drafted as a long snapper, which is an offensive lineman, and then Vermeil put him at defensive end.
Real quick with you bringing up J.J. Watt with Lynch before we move on to my favorite pick of the entire draft for the Vikings.
This one?
Yep.
Nice.
Is I could see Lynch being the type of guy who really flourishes most as a defensive end in a 3-4.
Right.
The way that J.J. Watt is used primarily now or recently, given the hybrid nature of both his size and skill set.
Sure.
So that wouldn't surprise me at all. But he can be a great 3 technique in pass rushing situations in a 4-3, which is where I think guys like Hercules Mataafa have almost no chance of making the team here this year, because there's guys that can do that role just as good and do other roles too.
Sure.
Now, Lynch being one of those primary guys.
Right.
And Mataafa is even more undersized than Lynch is. But now that we get to my absolute favorite pick, from just a player prospect standpoint, and that's Oregon hybrid linebacker Troy Dye. When I was watching Oregon game film, primarily to scout Shane Lemieux, guard on the offensive line, but also checking out Herbert, obviously at quarterback, a couple wide receivers, and a couple offensive linemen actually. Every time I got to the defensive side of the ball, there was just one guy. Like, I didn't even need to know who I was watching or what I was looking for. That guy.
Yep.
Number 35. He just, every play you see,
he's an immediate starter.
He's just like, it's like, wow.
He starts this year, if not game 1.
To me, he's my obvious immediate steal of the draft for the Vikings. And could be, a franchise face, game-changing type of player.
And I think he will be that.
He's a stud linebacker and a stud safety if you want him to be.
And he's also a great leader.
We all heard about the Isaiah Simmons kid who was a really high draft pick out of Clemson. This is basically the poor man's Isaiah Simmons,
right?
But better at playing
reel,
linebacker, but more of a linebacker than Simmons is. Where Simmons really is more of a safety.
The kid's a fucking monster. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, I think he starts this year, especially with Anthony Barr being out.
Yep.
So I think that's a fantastic pick. I think it's a steal. I'm 100% with you. I think he will be a franchise-level linebacker. I think it's almost inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're trying to keep injuries and shit like that out of this because it's just... it's too fucking unpredictable, dude. Would you ever in a million years have predicted fucking Teddy Bridgewater's fucking leg just fell off during practice?
Right.
He just fucking his leg fell off and he bled to death right there on the field. Yep. That's how fucking bad it was. No one's seen that coming.
With some of these guys, you do have reason to believe that they might be at a slightly higher risk. Given history, given their individual past history, but everybody is still coming in because of the game itself and the nature of the game at a certain level of risk, no matter what.
This kid, Harrison Hand, the 5th round pick. I want to watch this highlight reel because I don't remember what I thought of him. I think if I remember right, I think I thought this kid was going to end up being actually pretty good as well. I'm trying to watch this and really remember. Maybe not. I think this kid's a bust. I think this kid's going to be
what I saw of this kid at the combine. When I watched this kid at the combine, I loved what I saw. When I went to watch the tape of him playing at Temple, it was much more underwhelming than his performance at the combine. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with from the size standpoint. But I have seen him display incredible reaction skills and technique and just basic stuff like that.
I think this is your dime back this year.
If you're not putting him outside on an island, he's going to do just fine for you more often than not. But if he's got to run down the sideline deep with the dude, that's Toast City, man.
I think I think this year at best he's your dime back, special teams depth player, backup. Maybe down the road he's a potential nickel guy. Yeah, I remember
another guy who might get moved to safety.
He's a role player.
Too.
He should be on the team probably through his entire first contract, and unless he has a huge upside, I don't see him sticking with the team after his rookie contract.
Right.
But I also don't expect him to also leave the NFL. I think he sticks around and makes it with another team. This
I completely agree with that. I'm big on KJ.
This
Osborne,
son of a
man.
bitch is so fucking good. I was blown away. Here's your replacement for Diggs.
I had such a huge list of wide receivers in this draft class that were not going to be taken in round 1 or probably round 2.
This kid
that I think are fantastic. This name was on that list. KJ Osborne from Miami.
This is a playmaker. This kid is a fucking playmaker. He's a tiny little fuck, and he reminds me of a slower version of Percy Harvin.
See, I was going to go a slower Tyreek Hill, but yeah.
Okay, sure. Same thing, basically, right? Like, but he's strong as fuck, this kid. This kid is small, but he's not weak. He's like a Percy Harvin. Like, look at his upper body. Like, this kid's fucking jacked. And he's got hands. I think he's immediately your kick returner and punt returner, which is good because that gets a depth wide receiver off of punt and kick returns, which means less injuries to your bona fide receiver in DB core.
Yep.
You know, so you keep those guys healthier while he works himself in, because I think he is your slot receiver throughout the season. I think Jefferson ends up on the outside.
Agreed.
You got Jefferson and Thielen 1-2, and then this kid is your slot. But I think it's going to take him at least 4 games to 8 games before he actually takes that role from whoever else. And then again, BC Johnson's going to have a real hard time, but I like that wide receiver as well. I think he's a spell in all 3 spots. Well, that's what I like about BC. I think he's going to eventually play on the outside. He'll probably end up replacing Thielen, because Thielen's not a young man anymore.
Right,
he's
correct.
29 years old. He's white. You know, white wide receivers don't last long in the NFL. They don't last till
he's in his
34.
30s.
You know, I thought he was 29.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. But
either way, he's got 1 or 2 years left.
Yep.
Let's be honest, guys. Yep. He's not gonna. He's just not fast enough to be able to keep his job for much longer.
And what I like about KJ right away out of the gates for the Vikings is I feel that he's an explosive player from a play creating standpoint.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily explosive in the way that Randy Moss was explosive, that he just would shoot out of the gate and blow by people. I'm not talking about that type of explosiveness. Not the same explosiveness that even Dalvin Cook has. You know, but just the ability to run a freaking 5-yard out or slant, rip the ball away from close coverage, shed that tackle like it's just absolutely nothing on him, and then run for another 60, 70 yards.
Right.
You know, he's an explosive playmaker.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yep. All right, so now we got up Blake Brandel. Now, I'm so fucking high on this pick because
me too.
I'm telling you right now, this is your starting right tackle. So this is, I think you actually busted my chops a couple years ago when I lost my mind over Brian O'Neill. And I was like, this kid is a fucking beast. And everyone's like, no, dude, he's a project. And I went, no, he's your starting tackle in his rookie season. Like, I'm telling you, this kid is so fucking good. I still maintain Brian O'Neill needs to be moved to left tackle. And this, by the end of the season, is your starting right tackle. This kid is a fucking absolute bona fide franchise right tackle. If that is a thing, this is your guy. And if it's not right tackle because you want to keep Brian there, then fine. I think this kid can play left tackle too.
Hardcore football nerds might know this name, but he reminds me like of a Mitchell Schwartz.
Sure.
All-pro right tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Look at this footwork, though.
This guy.
Look at this kid's footwork from top to bottom.
His motor is perfect. It's everything you ask for. It's as high as it goes, but it's not out of control.
Look at the feet.
Okay.
Everything's in the right spot.
Look at his hips, square. The balance, okay? He's never leaning too far forward or falling too far back or out of position to the left or right.
Look at the feet.
The way he can handle that contact, power doesn't affect him at all. He took the shot to the chest there. Didn't move him a frickin'
Here comes the feet again. Watch the feet. Speed rusher on the edge.
the hands are delivered with precision, right where they need to be in the chest area with power. He doesn't
look at the feet. Look at the feet. He never.
The guy's never in jeopardy of getting called for a holding penalty because his feet move before his hands do.
Yep. And like you brought up his hips, and his hips perfectly follow his feet. That's the second stage to the foundation.
Yes.
When your hips are going one direction and your feet are, even if your feet are in the right spot, if your hips are going in the wrong direction, you're fucked. If your hips are going in the right direction and your feet are in the wrong direction, you're still fucked. So it starts with the feet, and then everything else has to be. And this kid is pure work ethic, top to bottom, and he's going to be an absolute stud for 10 years. This is the smartest fucking pick I've seen from the Vikings on the O-line in years.
I could not agree more. I couldn't agree more strongly. Couldn't agree more strongly.
Can't fucking believe this kid fell to the sixth
round. And to me, that was more proof of my initial gut feeling when they drafted Cleveland in round 2 that they were drafting a guard.
Sure.
In round 2. This was like the cement on that, believing that theory to me.
Okay.
You know, it was like I watched what Cleveland does on film, what he's good at, what he's not good at. Then you watch what this guy does on film, what he's good at, and try to find things that he's not good at. It's like, this is the tackle.
Yep.
The other guy is the athletic big dude for a zone scheme specifically.
Yep.
That
who can
needs
still handle
a guy
a
on
nose
each
tackle
side of him though to be safe,
but he's got the strength to handle a nose tackle
while at the same time having the speed and agility to get outside in the run game and get linebackers and secondary guys.
Now this guy I think is a bust.
He's an athletic freak. I did not see hardly any football skills from him at all.
Okay, so maybe he's a Zimmer pet. You know, because that's how Zimmer refers to these guys. He's like, that's my pet cat. You know, this is Andre Patterson's pet cat. Okay. You know, that's my son's pet cat.
Sure.
I think this is Mike's pet. This is a guy who no one else thought should even be drafted, and Mike Zimmer's like, no. I'll make that motherfucker something.
Right.
And he's worth taking in the 6th or 7th round instead of trying to nab him as an undrafted guy.
Yep.
Where a Belichick snags him up. You know what I mean?
To me, this was a guy where when you look at nothing but the measurables, how big is he? How fast is he? How strong is he? Just the measurables. You go, holy shit. You're in love with this dude. But then you watch him actually play football on a football field, and it's just really, really underwhelming. You know, it seems like he should be making a lot more plays than he does.
That's a penalty.
That's a penalty. Exactly. That's a penalty in the NFL, like in that last highlight.
That's a penalty in the NFL, the way he threw that blocker. You can't do that, and you can't grab a guy and throw him in the NFL.
Right.
You got to shed it.
Right. He's a little bit.
That's a missed tackle in the NFL.
He's got a little bit of like that Tyrann Mathieu, Mark Barron hybrid safety potential to him.
Why do they put the players celebrating in the highlight reel? Like, that's not a highlight. Are you just trying to fill your 1 minute clip?
Reinforcement. That's what we call it. That's reinforcement.
Right? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's the worst fucking thing I've
Look
ever
at
seen.
how impressed these people were by that play. That's how impressed you're supposed to be.
So from here on out, there's 4 picks. Kenny Willekes. These 2 are the last ones I really think we should even spend time on.
Sure.
Because I think Cole's a bust and I think Hinton's a bust.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, this kid is the secret sauce here. He's the one, again, who's going to come out of fucking nowhere halfway through the season, like Enigmo did last year, and he's going to start making plays, and people are going to be like, where'd we get that guy?
I was extremely surprised that this guy was available in the 7th round.
He should have been a third round pick. I saw him
being a 3rd to 5th rounder.
He should have been
anywhere in there. I saw him being a 3rd to 5th rounder. And to see us grab him in round 7, that's just one of those where when that kind of value is sitting there at that juncture in the draft, you don't worry about the position that's attached to the name or anything else like that. You grab that value. You mean like, we can get a guaranteed. Ooh. We can get a guaranteed no worse than 6 out of 10 in round 7 with
chase
this kid.
The play down,
I don't care what position he plays.
See, that's great. This kid just does everything right. Like, this is a kid who doesn't make any mistakes when he's playing football.
Right. This is another high motor kid.
Watch him stay with the play even when the play's going the other side of the field. Look at him run down a fucking running back from the opposite side of the field. Did you see that? Where he came from? I believe he was on the right side. Hold on, let's go back. On that last play there, I believe, let's try to get back to it. If this is an incredible play right here. If this is what I think it is.
If he can not rely.
All right, watch this right here.
Play.
He's on the right side. Oh, not this one. Yeah, it was that one. Motherfuck. Nah, fuck it. Who cares?
He made a lot of plays in college because of his superior motor. Given a fairly, and then the respective athletic abilities of everybody involved. In the NFL, the question is his motor enough to overcome the little bit of, less than to be desired with his athleticism, his speed, his size, his strength, things like that, to where he can still be effective or not? Or can he add and improve on those, slight amount of physical limitations that are perceived right now?
Yeah. I think he can. I think he will.
I think he can. I think he can easily get another, 20 pounds heavier and stronger.
Exactly.
And
with the Vikings coaching staff between Zimmer, Don Capers, Pattison, all of them.
I interviewed Patterson too. That was one of my favorite interviews. Was Coach Andre.
No shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Cool dude.
Yeah, super cool. Mega cool.
That's fucking cool.
Yep. It's
good to know that those guys are fucking on our team. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to know those are guys we're keeping around. This is the last guy I think we should even waste any time on. But we mentioned him earlier in the podcast again. So the way I evaluate quarterbacks, and I think I'm pretty fucking good at this, because like I'm pretty good in my record, and this is why I kind of wanted to do this with you, is like, fuck it, let's actually start putting this shit down, because I'm willing to brag about this skill at this point. This is how good I am at this. I can look at quarterbacks and tell you if they're going to make it in this league or not. And I'm fucking pretty goddamn good at doing this so far. Other positions, take it or leave it. My opinions are what they are. But these quarterbacks, I'm fucking good at this. Like Kaepernick, when he's lighting up the NFL, I'm like, he ain't going to be in the league in 3 to 5 years. And everyone's like, dude, he just went to the Super Bowl.
Future of the NFL.
And I'm like, nah, he's trash. Why? Because his fucking footwork was always horrible. And all he was doing was being the most athletic player on the field. As soon as somebody schemed him down,
yes, exactly,
he was fucking done, bro. Yep. And then he started getting into the activist shit, which I support him for in his personal decision. But the point again is he wasn't putting in the mental work, the mental preparation to actually out-scheme like a Russell Wilson did. When teams started to try to scheme him down, he out-schemed them.
He became content to just out-athlete the other team.
Same thing happened to Mike Vick in the first part of his career.
There's countless examples. Yep. Cunningham.
In the first part of his career, absolutely 100%. Yep. Got cocky because they're the best player on the field.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, so this is the last guy, and this, I'm telling you, man, if the Vikings do their fucking job as an organization, this is the closest thing we're going to see to a Tom Brady steal in years, because this kid fell to the 7th. I'm not saying he's going to be Tom Brady. That's irrational. Is what I'm saying is you're not going to see a quarterback that ends up being this good fall to the 7th round for a very long time. Even Tom was a 6th. He didn't make it to that 7th round. He was a 6th round draft.
Right. If you think of it from like
and watch his footwork for people that are listening and watching. For the listeners, I apologize. If you guys, when I separate this audio and go to iTunes, and the guys that are just listening, you might want to skip this episode.
If you think
of
it
from 2 hours in,
if you think of it from an ingredients standpoint, like player attributes as an ingredient
that's a
standpoint.
Perfectly placed ball. Look at this footwork, though.
It is extremely rare for a quarterback, especially, to have as many ingredients as Stanley does for success and still be on the board when he was on the board in the draft.
Again, this should have been a 2nd to a 4th round pick.
Because of all the raw, workable stuff he's got.
Then just think of all the other guys that went in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, not just this year, but previous years, from your fucking Christian Ponders to your Jimmy Clausens to your fucking
Jimmy Clausen.
Who's this guy? Johnny Manziel.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Football.
Kyler Murray's the fucking number 1 overall pick. Kyler Murray's going to be a bust, by the way. That's one of the That's one of the predictions I'm extremely confident in.
Yeah.
Extremely confident. Same thing with Baker Mayfield.
Never been a Baker guy.
He's a career backup.
Yep.
He won't last this season. Case will take that job from him. Case Keenum will take that because he's a Brown now. I don't know if you guys know that as football fans out there.
Went with Stefanski.
Yeah, Case is taking that job.
Yep. The route I would have went with the team real quick in that position, just personally, if I was the GM calling the shots, we would have not had DiFilippo. That would have been Stefanski right away. I said that the whole time. It should be Kevin Stefanski's job.
Fair.
Why there was that middle ground. And then I would have brought Case back, and I would have tried to bring Teddy back. Both of them 1-year deal, around $10 million apiece.
I think I was talking to Onward about this. I think
job.
It was a money issue.
You've both earned the opportunity. Neither of you have earned the job.
I think it was a money issue.
Yep, right. I think so too.
But
in a perfect world, that's how I would have did it.
Sure. But honestly, and you've never been a Kirk guy. I've always been a Kirk guy, and I think you guys are finally coming around to him now because it's undeniable what he did last season with the shakiness of that defense. Because we seen it happen 2 years ago where we got down 21-0 to the Bills and the team fucking folded at home. Then last year,
had the Denver game.
21-0. Kirk Cousins leads us back. Puts the team on his fucking back, and Kirk Cousins leads us back. Also, down 21-0 in Lambeau, comes back, almost wins that game if it isn't for Daniel Carlson.
The overtime one.
Okay, so
that we should have never went to overtime because that call on Matthews was absolutely ridiculous.
Now you fast forward to the playoffs.
Yep.
And he goes toe-to-toe with Drew Brees and outperforms Drew Brees in New Orleans in the fucking playoffs, throws a deep bomb on a dime to Thielen. Luckily, Thielen was clutch enough to catch it, and then takes 2 more plays, but then he finally hits fucking on a perfect throw to Kyle Rudolph in the back corner of the end zone.
Nope.
It's hard to deny. He showed up under pressure, and let's not forget the Dallas game when he showed up on Monday Night
Dallas
Football.
Game was big,
dude. Because I got to tell you, man, Dak Prescott looked great in that game. I'm not a Dak Prescott guy. I don't think he's going to be a long-term elite quarterback. I think he's kind of going to end up being a bust. I don't think he has the real work ethic for it.
But
I think he flashes things with his work ethic, but I think it's more of a mental discipline thing. There's just something about him. Again, he's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Russell Wilson. He doesn't have that same. I'm pretty fucking good at predicting these things. I don't see him panning out. But this guy, when we watch this clip specifically, watch his fucking feet. Okay, everything in this highlight reel, it's not him just like making a good play. It's look at the footwork, perfectly placed. He needed to land on his toe on that first one, because he had to put that ball a little lofty. See that?
Yep.
When you break that down, we can't slow it down. Sorry, I'm not going back far enough.
Well, even just, look
at this
the
right
position
here.
of the elbow, the hand coming over the top, the
floated,
follow
perfect.
through.
Next play, watch the feet. Oh, you can't see the feet on that one. But still, perfectly placed ball where only his receiver can catch. Watch the feet. Boom. Perfect pivot, plant foot. Perfect. That's the same throw.
Yep.
Here's another one. Watch the feet. Point that, boom, plant, drive. Great, completion. And he did it under pressure.
Yep.
Again, perfect one-step drop, plant to the left, point that toe where you're throwing that ball. Here it is again, left foot. And when he's rolling out to his right, he does the correct thing. You invert that plant foot when you're rolling to your right. You throw off your back foot when you're rolling to the right as a right-handed quarterback. There it was, perfectly executed.
Yep.
There's the plant again. The accuracy on the short throws is there. He's got touch, whether he's throwing deep or short. Look at him. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier, that subtle evasion of pressure. Watch him lean backwards.
Yep. You just got to move.
He pulls his
one
left
direction
shoulder
off of your mark.
He literally pulls his left shoulder to his own left. Watch it. It's this next one, I think. Right. There it is. You see that? He moved his left shoulder out and then pulled his head back and stepped up into the pocket, completed the play.
Yep.
This guy doesn't get rattled. This is a guy who has everything you're looking for in a franchise quarterback, and I don't know how the fuck he ended up in the 7th round. So again, at the beginning of the conversation,
usage in college,
it's gotta be that combination,
big part of it.
And then people must have gotten scared when he had the drop off in stats the following year.
He had
none
pretty
of that shit makes any
decent
sense.
measurables at the combine as well. Like he had a good 40 time and all that stuff. One of the very few things I noticed of his watching film that was just a little bit negative, he'll need to work on that, is we pointed out how good his mechanics and stuff were in the pocket. Once he's great with the size, strength, and athleticism to extend the plays and break the rush, but once he is on that, you will find in tape that there's a lot of mechanics that suffer when he's on the run. Where he's just not consistent with it. Sometimes he does it perfectly, and it's this beautiful highlight that makes you go, holy shit. But then there's other times where just for whatever reason, the mental processing overrode the basic mechanics, and then you get an overthrown ball that's an interception instead of an incompletion or something like that.
Absolutely.
But very coachable stuff. Again, he's got all the raw materials just sitting there. That a lot of guys don't have that, and to still be available in round 7 when you've got that arm strength and that size and that mobility, just those 3 things alone,
absolutely,
like that's pretty rare.
Absolutely. So. Yep. And like if you go and deep dive him, you're going to see some striking similarities between him and a Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
It's eerie. It's eerie. I can't believe they didn't draft him. They must be real high on Mason Rudolph.
I was really high on Mason Rudolph in the draft that he came out on.
For people that don't know, Mason Rudolph subbed in for Ben last year. He's the backup quarterback in Pittsburgh.
He showed flashes, but then he also had quite a bit of struggle as well.
Just a bizarre scenario. All right, so let's do this. Let's start wrapping it up. We don't have to get out of here anytime soon, but we have been going for 2 hours. It's already 9 o'clock.
Sweet.
I don't know if you fucking realize that, but let's do some predictions. Sweet. and then we'll wrap it back. We'll do a little plug for you if you got some shit coming up.
Cool.
I'm gonna air this. Let's see, it's Thursday. This will be up Thursday, so you can still promote a show that's gonna be next weekend.
Gotcha.
Okay. Or whenever.
Okay.
So before COVID, before Michael Pierce shut down, I had the Vikings with this draft class, knowing what I know, trying not to be just a rube and a fan, but give it a honest to God. I actually had us taking the division this year and making it back to the playoffs. I had us somewhere between 10-6 and 12-4.
Sure.
With everything that's been going on, with no crowd. A lot of young players, a lot of new pieces on defense, missing an absolute bulwark, stopgap defender that is Michael Pierce at that nose tackle position, knowing Mike Zimmer's scheme on defense and how important that player is
that role,
to that scheme.
Yes.
I got and PJ Hall, by the way, he failed his physical. He's going back to Vegas. I got the Vikings now, honestly, man. I'm sorry. 7-9, missed playoffs.
Sure.
Yep. I got the Packers taking the division again now at like 9-7, 10-6. They're not going 13-3 again.
I don't think that's far-fetched at all. I think the Packers are returning what I thought last year was going to be a really good team and was. I feel that they're returning most of that, and I think they're still, a solid 10-win team with the potential for maybe a couple more.
Yeah, and they have the coaching and the discipline.
Or a couple less, And
they have the system, the coaching, the culture, the everything to where they're not going to be as affected by a lack of a crowd as the Vikings will be.
Huge fan of Mike Pettine, the defensive coordinator that took over in Green Bay last year and really turned that defense around.
That's not going to happen again.
I love Kenny Clark.
That defense does not
on that defense.
That defense does not look as good as it did this year or last year.
If they're young corners and safeties, they've put so many high draft picks into that secondary.
I understand you're also giving
a
lot of ifs.
Talent, yes,
and you're saying if this, if that.
Absolutely,
but I'm asking for a bona fide prediction.
Sure.
The Packers are not going 13-3.
No, the Packers aren't going to win 13 games. I definitely don't think that.
The defense
but winning 11 or 12 wouldn't surprise me.
They didn't do anything to improve on offense.
I don't think the Packers will lose less than 7 or 8 games. You know, I don't think there's
less than 8.
Or excuse me, I don't think I worded that wrong. I don't think there's any chance they win less than 7 or 8 games. Like, to me, that's the floor for the Packers. 7 and
here's
9,
what
8
I really
and 8,
think. I like I said, I think the Packers go somewhere between 8-8 and 10-6 and win the division, and everybody else is 8-8 or lower.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears, sorry.
I
sorry, Greg. I know you're a huge Bears fan. I know Greg's going to end up watching this one. Sorry, buddy. I know you're a huge Chicago fan, but your team's fucking trash. The Lions are the Lions. They're always going to be the Lions. No one ever fucking worried about them. Who do you got in the Super Bowl? Because I honestly do have KC going back again. I don't think anybody out of the AFC is going to beat them. I swear to God, I got Kansas City and Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay goes out of the NFC.
No, that's honestly, to me, that's definitely the two favorites.
I know that's too obvious.
That's the most likely. But I would agree that's, just with what we know right now, where we're at with things right now, those are your two safest bets if you're going to put money on, right now, who's going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Those are the two best teams to put your money on.
I think it's almost more fun, instead of going Super Bowl, I like to predict the AFC and NFC championship games.
Sure. Yep.
So who do you got in the AFC championship game?
Well, okay. Ugh. I really like what they've been doing in Tennessee. I like the way that team's put together. I don't know if Tannehill is going to be able to perform at the same level that he did last year.
I think he will. I think he's legit.
But I'm not doubting that. But I'm just saying,
Tannehill's a legit quarterback.
I don't know that the Titans' defense is going to be as good as it's been under Vrabel the past couple of years moving forward.
Sure.
They lost. Granted, I don't think he signed with anybody yet, but Logan Ryan in their secondary was a big one. Like, I like that guy a lot, and I don't think he's coming back. And so there's a couple pieces there.
Okay,
but they always seem to have a better defense.
AFC championship teams.
Kansas City Chiefs and Chiefs and Titans.
Chiefs and Titans.
Okay. Sure.
I'm gonna go Chiefs Steelers.
Cool.
I think the Steelers make it back. I think Belichick gets back to the playoffs. I think they don't win the division over there in the East for the first time, because they don't have Brady. But I still think they make the playoffs somehow.
Yep.
I don't know who beats them in that division. I don't know
Probably
if it's going to be the Bills that step up this year.
Probably the Bills, I would think.
Who knows? Miami might just suddenly come out of nowhere. That happens every once in a while, right? Like, there's a few teams over there that could do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh, with Ben coming back, they put some pieces in place after having
They've
couple down years.
They've got a phenomenal defense now, finally, after having that as their weakness for quite a while here.
There you go. That's what I'm getting at. Gun to your head, NFC Championship game.
Bucks versus Saints. Maybe Cowboys.
I'm going Bucks Seahawks.
Cool.
I'm going Bucks Seahawks.
I like that.
I'm going Bucks Seahawks because I don't believe in San Francisco. Especially after they have all that film from last year. I think Seattle comes back and takes that division from them.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I don't believe in Jared Goff or the Rams whatsoever.
Sure.
I have zero respect for Jared Goff as a quarterback. His eyes are too close together. I'm sorry, man. I'm fucking sorry, bro. Like, look at him in his fucking face, and his eyes are like next to his nose, dude. Like, fuck that guy. I'm telling you, he's overrated. I don't understand why everybody thinks he's so good. Again, he's a guy who's going to end up being, an Alex Smith, a solid starter. Yep. But I can't fucking believe they ever made it to the Super Bowl in the first place. That's a team that overachieved that year by just sheer magic, and they just had all the right pieces.
They had a lot of individual talent in a lot of various places. And you can't disregard how important like an offensive line is. They had a great offensive line that year They went to the Super Bowl. The very next year, they had lost, like, I want to say 2 starters off of that line. And now suddenly they have a hard time protecting Goff and running the ball. Gee, go figure.
Yeah, so I don't believe in the Rams. I don't believe in Goff. I don't believe in I do believe in Jimmy G, but I don't believe in the Niners. I don't believe in Kyle Shanahan. I don't believe in the Cowboys. I don't believe in anybody from the NFC South. I don't believe in anybody from the NFC East for that matter. And honestly, I don't believe in the Packers. So if I would put the Vikings back in the playoffs if we can somehow work some magic like we did the 13-3 season under Case Keenum. Like I'm the only one I knew that was like, this is our year. This is going to work. I don't know how it's going to work, but we had Sam Bradford. We had even with the Teddy injury, that's still the same year. And then we had we went and drafted for Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford got injured, and all of a sudden magically, Teddy and the Sam thing happened the year before, and Sam came back for his second season with us, and that's when Case stepped in because Teddy was still on the injury block. If we could somehow capture lightning in a bottle like that again, I could see us making a deep playoff run. But if gun to my head, I'm going Tampa Bay, Seattle. And I think just Tom Brady's combination with Bruce Arians. That's a winning combo.
You're giving him arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league with Godwin and Evans, and then you're also giving him for O.J. Howard and Rob Gronkowski at tight end. It's going to be tough.
And that's the thing is I understand that's a safe bet. So that's where I like getting into the championship game combinations because then you can pick that other team. So if it's not Tampa Bay, look for Seattle. If it's not Kansas City, and my dark horses, look for Pittsburgh. So that's why I like doing those scenarios. I think they're almost more accurate. You know what I mean? I know how bizarre that sounds, but by adding 2 more teams, you're almost, I don't know. It is what it is, dude.
No, I completely agree with where you're coming from with it. The one thing I'd say with the Vikings catching magic possibly is I think it just comes down to 2 units on the team. If the offensive line can gel and improve, whoever names are in whatever spots, that's going to be huge and carry this team really far on its own.
Right.
And then if the same thing can happen on the other side of the ball with the secondary, given all the turnover that we've had at cornerback, losing Trey Waynes, losing Mackenzie Alexander, losing Xavier Rhodes, if the same thing can happen with the secondary unit, at that point, sky's the limit, and we got just as good a chance as anybody to make a deep push.
I'd agree with the first half. For me, it's the D line. I'm extremely confident in this secondary. Everyone's like, "Oh, but you lost all your corners." I'm like, dude, those guys weren't that good. Like Trey Waynes was a very solid starter. He was never that great. We survived 2 seasons of having a shitty Xavier Rhodes. Chris Boyd, the guys that are already there, plus the rookies we drafted, and we have 2 great safeties now. And they protect the corners more than people understand, because if your safeties are in the wrong spot, they make your corners look bad. So now that we got this year Harris and Smith.
And the best cover linebacker in football in Kendricks.
And then we have the potential of a guy like Troy Dye. We have an emerging star in a potential Eric Wilson. Plus, we've got some guys that we drafted last year at the linebacker position that are still technically on the roster. Some of those guys can start emerging. What's his name? Cameron Smith from USC.
Here's a real quick question for you. Do you think, given the current makeup of personnel on the Vikings defense, that there's a possibility that Anthony Barr is used as a defensive end?
Absolutely, under Dom
more
Capers.
often than we've seen.
I think
him
it's
up until this point, because I think there is.
I think it's guaranteed with Dom Capers coming in and influencing, bringing in some ideas in formations from that 3-4 scheme. The Vikings aren't truly transforming to a 3-4, but Mike Zimmer's evolving his double A gap defense. It's not going to be this, and you saw that happen actually already last year in the playoffs when they moved Daniil Hunter and Everson Griffin inside for parts of the game and had Odenigbo and what's his name as your edge rushers, and the fucking Saints had no idea how to handle that. The problem is, and this is again what I have a problem with Mike Zimmer, is he's not very innovative week to week. Guaranteed. Like, he'll pull a rabbit out of his hat and win you a game you thought you were going to lose, but then he tries the same thing the next week. But like Kyle Shanahan was like, okay, so they're going to move these guys inside. Here's what we're going to do. Here's where, you're going to pull this block. You're going to chip this guy. You're going to fucking fan in, and you're both going to flank that A gap. We're going to protect it this way. You don't have to worry about it, blah, 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 blah. And then same thing, they shut down the other side. They shut down our O-line. They shut down Dalvin Cook, which effectively shut down our offense. So I think the defense is going to be the key group on defense is going to be that D-line. Can they, especially without the Michael Pierce.
Primarily at the tackle spot, but
we'll see what happens. So let's wrap this up. If people want to follow you, because I know you still do it, and we didn't actually, and this was sort of the point. I mean, you're a musician. That's, ironically, we didn't meet through the music industry. That is the craziest part. It's such a small world. We have dozens of mutual friends, and we did not meet at a show or in the network or in the industry. None of that. We met randomly on Facebook because of a mutual love of sports, but specifically football. But you are a huge musician. You are very talented. Your band's pretty fucking good as well. You guys, Strange Daze, where can people find your stuff personally if they want to follow you, and how do they find your band online?
Well, if you're online on Facebook or Twitter or any of that stuff, just search Strange Daze, spelled D-A-Z-E, like Dazed and Confused. We should be one of the first things that pops up. You can do the same thing if you're on YouTube or Spotify, especially iTunes, all of that stuff. Just make sure you spell the name correctly, D-A-Z-E.
Where do people follow you?
For me, you can search up Scotty Ball on Facebook. Find me through Jared's Twitters, Facebook friends and stuff.
Well, they don't have access to my personal page where we're friends. I just have the artist page public. The personal page is for like close personal friends where I have daily interactions with them, or to monitor my buddies' bands. Because
if you type in Scotty Ball with Scotty with a Y on YouTube too, that should definitely, I would think that pulls up a bunch of just like at home acoustic videos I've been making over COVID break and stuff, just to kind of kill boredom and, more than anything, to lead by example, like, because it's all stuff that I never knew how to play and just learned and taught myself over this break.
Right on.
Having the time to do more of that stuff, so like, that's been really the only reason I've recorded any songs and uploaded them over the past couple months, is because, like, well, here's one of the ways I'm trying to productively use my time.
Dude, that's great. That's great. There's too many people playing the victim card right now.
You'll find
my mind.
Plenty of that probably too, especially most likely I did an acoustic rendition of What's Going On
I
by
saw
Marvin
that.
Gaye after the George Floyd thing
I'm just
went
so
down.
glad to see you not falling and just going, you know what, I'm going to do something, and you're just doing something during the COVID thing. That's what I was saying. So many people are in that victimhood mentality. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm losing my mind, blah, blah, blah. Just do something. Fucking something. You don't have to change the world. You don't have to invent a YouTube channel. You don't have to start fucking reinventing your life. Just do something.
How many times have you said, God, I'd like to do that more, but I don't have the time. I'd like to exercise more, but I just don't have it. I can't work it into my schedule. I'd like to play freaking Xbox more, but I can't. I'm too busy. It's like, well, you're not too busy anymore. Right. So do those things. Pick up one of those books.
Do something.
That you haven't read yet, that's sitting there, and just do something.
Fucking something. Well, dude, let's wrap it up there. I'm gonna cue up the intro. If you guys like what you fucking got here, I know this is like the first full-on sports podcast we did. It was sort of planned like that on purpose because, not everybody's into sports. We've talked, we're probably going to segment this off and do like a Rogan style MMA or fight companion thing. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get it wired up where we can watch the game. Me, you, and Anwar sit here, and it'll be like a fight companion, but we'll be watching the football game. This
that'd be fun.
this one's still just going up as episode 10. Scotty, Scott Knudson, aka Scotty Ball. But yeah, I think we're gonna separate this. We've been talking about this. We've been trying to figure out how we're gonna pull this off. So this was the first football centric podcast. When Scotty comes back on in the future, if you're not interested in football, just you'll know because it'll say football or something in the title. Skip that episode. In the future, when you see Scott come on, it's going to be more about us hanging, talking about personal shit, the music stuff. It'll be more the normal style podcast. But
Sweet.
if you guys like this episode or any of the other episodes or any of that bullshit, fucking hit like, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you know the next time we upload one. And that's the show, dude.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
coming,
much
man.
for having me, man.
It was a fucking blast, dude. Let's do it again, man.